On Sunday Night Baseball, Dodgers, Giants, Sunday at 7 Eastern on ESPN. Telecast presented by Taco Bell.
Janae and Golick Jr.
We heard the reports about this alliance potentially coming out. We got an official announcement today that gave us nothing in the way of immediate tangible results here. They talked about scheduling that we had heard all since the beginning of these reports coming out here. But they also said they weren't willing to break any of the existing contracts for games that were out there, any of the agreements they had with their TV partners here. So when's that could happen? A decade from now?
Janae and Golick Jr. Weekdays at 4 Eastern on ESPN Radio. And now, watch exclusively on ESPN Plus.
WING 1410 Dayton. Dayton's ESPN Radio. We're live. We're local.
What are you gonna miss? He struck him out.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
We are officially 2 days away from the Ohio State Buckeyes kicking off the 2021 college football season. Welcome in, everybody. Justin Kinner, Kevin Nash hanging out with you here on a Tuesday. Coming up an hour from now, 4 o'clock, ESPN college football analyst Adam Rittenberg will join us. We'll talk about that Ohio State-Minnesota showdown on Thursday night, as well as what's looming for the Buckeyes after Minnesota. Don't want to look too far ahead, but that Oregon matchup again in the land of the 4-team college football playoff. The playoffs have officially begun. I know people don't want to look at it that way. They don't want to view Minnesota as a playoff game or even the Oregon game as a playoff game, but you're getting your college football playoffs early, and that's the fun of this. Clemson, Georgia, it's a playoff game. The playoffs start this weekend, Kev. Like, that's what's amazing about all of this. A lot of big matchups, and I'm really intrigued by that Clemson, Georgia game, a matchup we didn't really talk a whole lot about yesterday. We'll talk about that with Adam Rittenberg coming up and the significance of that here around the corner. I did see that Oklahoma-Tulane, Kev, was supposed to be Tulane, we talk about like, okay, Cincinnati was supposed to host Wisconsin. No, they were going to play at Wisconsin last year. And we're saying, oh, man, that's a big deal. Cincinnati playing at Wisconsin, Cincinnati playing at Indiana this year, Cincinnati playing at Notre Dame. Oklahoma, top 5 team, a favorite to come out of the Big 12, the favorite to represent the Big 12 in the playoff, if they, win out. Tulane was supposed to host Oklahoma this weekend. I'm crushed for Tulane because Tulane, that game is now going to be played at Oklahoma. Yeah. They at least get to keep that game on the schedule. They at least get to play Oklahoma, which, let's say they pull off a shocker. That's huge for the American Conference. It's huge for the Bearcats. It's huge for that side. It's unlikely. But, man, you had Oklahoma coming to your home field. And we know how fickle these things could be. Like, they may never get that return game. They may never get that game back. I'm sure there'll be some nice little deal where Tulane will make money off the ticket or off the door at Oklahoma, and they'll be compensated and yada, yada. But I don't think you could put a price tag on the experience of that type of game, that type of atmosphere, having Oklahoma play at Tulane. So they get the matchup still. It's just going to be held at Oklahoma. That was one of the bigger headlines outside of the main headlines that everyone's talking about today with Cam, which we'll get to in a moment. But I thought Oklahoma playing at Tulane was such a huge week 1 matchup. Maybe it wouldn't be good once the game kicked off, but I thought it looked cool. We don't see too many of those. We don't see Ohio State going to play, heck, even at Cincinnati, at Bowling Green, or at, wherever. Oklahoma going to play at Tulane was pretty cool. That's no longer the case because of the hurricane.
Yeah. You took the words right out of my mouth. The financial benefits for Tulane, that's one thing, but like the atmosphere, like that's something you can't get back. Tulane isn't a big name school, but Oklahoma has a history of doing that type of thing, going to, the smaller school or whatever, the Power 5 school or the Group of 5 school. Like they, in years past, they went to Tulsa. They played at Tulsa and things of that nature. But like, that's cool to have the big dog come to your place, and not only money for your school, but like all the businesses around there, because the Sooner fans travel, especially if they're going to be going just from Norman to Tulsa. That's basically like going from Columbus to Cincinnati. You know what I mean? So to bring that atmosphere to your place and selling out hotels, selling out restaurants, and to have that big time school in your stadium and on your campus for a weekend, it just robs a lot of people of that actual feeling of college football being back. But obviously, they're dealing with something way bigger than sports. A hurricane just came through New Orleans, the Gulf Coast, and everything like that, unfortunately.
Yeah, and by the way, don't say kudos to Oklahoma, because we hear all the lame excuses from a college basketball standpoint for why a certain team in town won't play the other team in town. The team that they say that doesn't mean anything to them, that they don't care, but they go out of their way not to play. It doesn't work that way. But Oklahoma has a pair, and they're willing to go play at Tulane, not just play Tulane, but play at Tulane. And that's college football. Like that's humongous. So I want to make sure we give Oklahoma a shout out for that. At least they kept it on. Oklahoma could have said, well, we just don't need to play this game, but good for them for keeping the game, and they found a way to navigate through it. And they're going to have that game coming up this weekend, but we'll talk quick.
When's the last time Ohio State played a true out of conference road game? Was
at
it Oklahoma?
And that's funny. That whole Oklahoma-Ohio State series, no team has won at home. That's what's. But no, I think in the regular
TCU
season
was at Jerry's World.
Yep, that was supposed to be at TCU, like a regular, but then they reconstructed the contract and got it to where it was at Jerry's World.
Right.
But yeah, and I couldn't tell you the one before that. Would it have been one of the? I mean, no, it wouldn't have gone back to the Trestle days.
No. It probably would have been. Was it Washington?
Would it have been at Washington?
I think so.
Yeah, possibly. I'll have to look into that. But no, that's a good. I mean, and again, Ohio State, I always give them credit too, because they are willing to do the home and homes.
Yeah.
With they don't have to do the neutral site Alabama approach and all that. So there you go. But I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kev Nash. We welcome you in. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. I want to shout out to our sponsor as well. They re-upped with us, so I haven't scared them away. They re-upped with us for another few months, so I want to give them a shout out. I love it. We got some new sponsors in Ohio State football coming up too. I'm really pumped about that. In fact, just got off the phone with a bunch of local businesses that are super pumped to be involved in Ohio State football right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. So yeah, that kicks off on Thursday. I'm pretty jacked about that. But let's talk a little NFL. We'll get to the college stuff with Adam Rittenberg from ESPN in just a little bit, top of the 4:00 hour. But the big news today, we were waiting for the New England Patriots. Again, I don't think there's a big New England Patriot fan base around here, but this story is intriguing enough that I wanted to open up with it. I know this is a local show, but this was a big enough conversation that I think really does kind of bleed into other conversations that we'll have about Justin Fields, a former Buckeye, now with the Chicago Bears. The Patriots, we were waiting for them to announce a starter. They didn't technically come out and announce a starter today. They technically announced the starter through subtraction, right? Like by process of elimination. The New England Patriots announced that they had cut Cam Newton today. Now, I had a bunch of different opinions on this because I think that how the cut came about matters. Did they call Cam Newton into the office and say, you're cut? Or did they call Cam Newton into the office and say, we're going to go with Mac Jones as the starter? Because we appreciate you sticking by us last year and even returning. Do you want to be the backup, or would you rather us just release you and you have a chance to go? I don't know. I haven't been able to come across a true sequence of events of what led to it. A lot of people are outraged. A lot of people are upset, saying that they screwed over Cam Newton. I don't believe that's the case. I think that the timeline matters. You got to think about the timeline of how everything came about. Everyone keeps saying, well, we all knew that the Patriots were going to go in the direction of getting getting Mac Jones. And although that's always sounded good because everyone was connecting the dots, Mac Jones played for, Nick Saban, who is the Bill Belichick of college football, and that the styles and systems are similar, and that the approach to playing for an intimidating coach like that, like he proved that he could do it and tough it out, that it made a lot of sense. So when you look at the Patriots, they signed a 1-year deal for Cam Newton a year ago. That 1 year came up. They signed him 3 weeks before the NFL draft, Cam Newton. I think 2 weeks maybe. It was just a few weeks out of the draft. And everyone was like, oh, wait, that's a sign right there that they're not going to get a quarterback. And I remember thinking, no. I think, if anything, that almost guarantees that they're going to go after a quarterback in the draft, mainly because they're setting themselves up for if a quarterback does not fall into their lap. Because Mac Jones, remember, all the talk was the Niners are trading up to take Mac Jones. And the Patriots, they weren't really affiliated with why am I drawing a blank here? The quarterback that went to the Niners, Trey Lance. The Patriots never really showed any interest in Justin Fields or Trey Lance. And then for a brief moment, Justin Fields' name was brought up because, again, playing at a great program like Ohio State, that you see Bill Belichick interested in those guys because they can handle being coached and they know how to play the right way. But ultimately, the Patriots signed Cam Newton a couple weeks before the draft. You cannot convince me that the Patriots knew that at pick number 15 that Cam Newton or that Mac Jones was just going to fall into their lap. Mac Jones was supposed to go top 5, top 10. He wasn't supposed to keep dropping and dropping and dropping, although there were some pundits out there who did believe that Mac Jones was just being used as a pawn within the gamesmanship of the chatter being released to the media when it comes to the gamesmanship of the draft, right? Like, oh man, we need to trade up and get him because it sounds like New England might trade up to get him, like trying to play that card. New England stayed put. They didn't trade up to get Mac Jones. Like, he fell right in their lap. So I do think it was one of those situations where the Patriots were prepared to take Mac Jones if he was there, but they were also prepared for if Mac Jones was not available, they still had their quarterback heading into the season. That's why Cam Newton was signed, because it's a win-win either way. It's a win-win either way for a couple of different things, because if you sign Cam Newton 2 weeks before the draft, which they did, you now have a veteran quarterback who you know you can count on to get you through this upcoming season. Now you have no urgency to lose assets to trade up to get Mac Jones, because at the end of the day, if you don't get Mac Jones this year, that's okay. You at least have Cam Newton. You can figure out the quarterback situation next offseason. Then if you get Mac Jones, now you have a veteran proven quarterback in Cam Newton, and you have a very talented rookie quarterback that has played in a system similar to that of the New England Patriots, played for a very similar coach in Nick Saban, and it's the best of both worlds, because now you have exactly what you need. You have two options. You went from no options to two. And if Cam Newton, or if Mac Jones, I'll get their names right eventually, if Mac Jones did not perform well in the preseason, if he did not perform well at camp, you had Cam Newton to be your starter come week 1. And if Mac Jones performed really, really well, then that is the best of the best of the best of the worlds, because that means you hit on your draft pick. Now, we can't say that he's made it yet. He's won the job. Now, that doesn't mean anything. I can't sit here and say I'm not impressed with Justin Fields and others because they're going up against third and fourth stringers. I can't say that on yesterday's show and then come here today and say, man, Mac's been awesome. But he has looked awesome. The only thing you could do against third and fourth stringers is do what you're supposed to do against third and fourth stringers, and that's make them look like third and fourth stringers. We would only be concerned if Justin Fields did not look good against third and fourth stringers. If Mac Jones did not look good against third and fourth stringers, then we would be concerned. But that wasn't the case. So right now, I don't think that they screwed over Cam Newton. I think that this actually worked out for Cam Newton. Cam Newton didn't really want to be a backup. Not a very similar style of play. He's a very physical quarterback. He's not the Cam Newton of old. I mean, he's not going to gun it out with you with his arm. He's going to use his physical frame, and he's going to pick up yardage, that tough, chunk yardage, and then he's going to be able to beat you with his arm from time to time. But overall, it's not the similar fashion of Mac Jones. This works out perfect for both sides. I didn't think this was that big of a story. I think it was surprising that they cut him, Kev, because we were waiting for them to name a starter and then maybe this be the result. But we found out the result before we knew who the starter was, which we then connected the dots and it all made sense. I'm not disappointed in this. And Cam Newton even came out and said there was no hard feelings. Like, this wasn't like a bad parting of ways. Like, this was actually probably what he wanted. Without reading a report, my takeaway is he was told he's not going to be the starter. They asked him what he wanted. He wanted to be released so he can go pursue a starting job elsewhere, and that's all that this is. But I do think that this isn't as big a story as what it's been made to be. It made a lot of sense. Good for Mac Jones, good for the Patriots, good for Cam Newton to be able to pursue another opportunity elsewhere. Now, I hope the Chicago Bears are paying attention, and let's do the same thing there. Let's get Justin Fields on the field and stop with this charade of we got to go with the veteran quarterback to give our rookie time to develop. We do that same song and dance every year, and it never works. If Bill Belichick didn't do that same song and dance, Matt Nagy shouldn't either.
This is good for everybody involved. This is kudos to the New England Patriots, because I believe it is exactly what you just said. I believe that it was a situation that the better guy won the job, the better guy being the rookie quarterback, Mac Jones. So he beat out the veteran, the former MVP of the league, the former Heisman Trophy winner, the former national champion, got his team to a Super Bowl with the Panthers and everything like that. So I think Bill Belichick has that amount of respect for Cam Newton to say, hey, we're going with the young guy. What do you want to do? And probably Cam said, well, I don't want to be a backup. I want to roll the dice and see if I can land somewhere else or land on a starting spot somewhere else. And that's what I believe it was, because of everything that we've heard about the relationship between Cam and Bill Belichick has been, a love fest, basically, before he was even with the New England Patriots. He used to golf over him. Like, man, he's just a supreme talent, all these great things that he would say about him. So I truly believe that's what was the case. So Cam Newton, he gets cut. And that's why it is a big deal, because he is Cam Newton. And it was a big deal that he wasn't signed to a team prior to last year going into the training camp. Like, he was out there in limbo because of the shoulder injury. Like, man, what's going to happen with Cam? What's going to happen with Cam? He lands with New England, has a good start to the season, catches COVID, train falls off the track, doesn't have a contract going into the season. They sign him right before the draft to basically have, some cushion to see what they're going to do with the quarterback situation. They go ahead and get Mac Jones, and kudos to Mac Jones. He went in there and took it from him, because prior to that, everything Bill Belichick was saying that Cam Newton's our quarterback, until Mac Jones took it from him, until Mac Jones played good enough football for him to say, like, look, Ty's going to go to the younger guy. Ty goes to the younger guy, and Mac Jones is younger than him. They're going to plug him in. And Cam Newton, the question is, what do you do? The question for Cam is, do you go be a backup somewhere else? Do you wait it out? Is the Washington football team the spot you go to? Is the Colts a destination? Could you go be a backup in Dallas? Could you go be a backup somewhere else? Could you go be a backup down in Miami? Like, there's a lot of play. Could you go back home to Atlanta, be a backup to Matt Ryan? So it's some places out there for him to be a backup. I don't see any place where there's a spot where he can go in there, especially with the season starting in 2 weeks?
Less
under
than
2
that.
weeks.
Yep.
I don't think there's anywhere he could just show up and be the starting quarterback. This isn't last year where, the New England Patriots just let the Hall of Fame best quarterback of all time go down to Tampa, and they're just searching for anybody that can take a snap. Like, I don't think any team out there in the NFL is looking for a starter right now. I think they're pretty much set. So the only spots available for him are backup spots.
Yeah, and I think, we talk a lot about this in the NBA. And there is nothing wrong with this. With if you are Cam Newton and you cannot accept a backup role, I've been seeing people bang on him all day today about that. Like, he needs to be realistic. I agree, he needs to be realistic, but I also respect guys who say, you know what, I can't be the backup. I'm not wired that way, and I'm just going to retire. Mm-hmm. I respect that. We saw Allen Iverson do that in the NBA. Now, it got ugly in a few different occasions where he went to Detroit and he went to Memphis and he went to a couple different spots where he wanted to be the Allen Iverson of old, and he just didn't have anything left in the tank to be the Allen Iverson of old. He looked like old Allen Iverson, and rather than be a backup, rather than come off the bench, he just retired. And I remember everyone saying, how selfish. No, that's not selfish. That's good self-awareness. We are all different. There are some guys who like to kind of, like Vince Carter, who can coast off into the distance and just be a backup and be a good, solid role player and accept your role. Carmelo Anthony, I was very critical of for the longest time because I felt like he was like very similar to Cam Newton, where wanted to be the guy. The best version of Carmelo Anthony since Carmelo's prime was the version of last year when he finally just accepted who he is. And that is a very, very good role player. I mean, he averages 16 points a game. Like, that's pretty good, Kev. Like, that's not like the old 30 a game that we used to see from him. But because he accepted who he is now at this point in his career, he said, okay, I'm not going to be the best player in the league, but I'm going to be the best at what I am capable of being. And that's why he's been able to prolong his career. Now he's with the Lakers looking to pursue a championship. Cam Newton has to ask himself that same thing, because I have no problem with the guys saying, no, I'm not wired that way. I'm not going to go be a backup. I'm not going to be a backup to Dak Prescott in Dallas. I'm not going to be a backup to Fitzpatrick or whatever his name is in Washington. I'm not going to be a backup to Mac Jones. I want to be a starter. And if I can't be a starter, I'm going to retire. I can respect the heck out of that. I have no problem with that. But what I don't want is him to go to teams and create drama everywhere he goes because he wants to be the starter. The problem is there's not really many starting opportunities right now unless there's a major injury.
Right.
Now, if you're Houston's kind of intriguing. You can go to Houston and probably be the starter. Maybe, because for whatever reason, the Texans keep ignoring what's all going on with Deshaun Watson, and there's a good chance. I don't know if he'll even start in week 1. I don't even know how any of that's going to pan out. The other thing with Cam Newton, too, I know last year he had a couple nice games before COVID hit, but I thought he missed a significant amount of time. He played in 15 of the 16 games. Mm-hmm. He's the first quarterback since the year 2000, and I'm stealing this stat from Colin Cowherd's show, which I had on in the background earlier. So rather than be like some hosts who act like they've looked it up themselves, I just wrote it down because it was fascinating to me. He was the first quarterback since 2000 to have 4 games with under 100 yards passing. And I wanted to trade Baker last year because he was averaging 220 passing yards a game. So it was as a result of the system not having weapons. I mean, there's so many excuses we could try to use for it. I just don't think the talent was on his side to justify the mess. I always say your talent will always determine whether or not a team is willing to take the noise on with you. And I just don't think that the talent for Cam matches the and there's no noise, but that's where the COVID stuff comes in now, because he was adamant about not revealing whether he's been vaccinated or not. Now all these reports are coming out. The one reason the Patriots moved on from him as well is because they didn't want to have a backup quarterback who you couldn't rely on because he wasn't vaccinated. Right. Now, I want to hit the pause button on this conversation right here. I don't give a rip your opinion on COVID at this point. I don't care your opinion about the vaccine, because that's not what this conversation is about. This conversation is about the reality of not whether or not you're vaccinated and spreading it to people. It's a matter of whether or not you're vaccinated and how you are treated within the protocol. Cam Newton going into the protocol for 10 days versus being in the protocol for 2 days after 2 negative tests is a gigantic difference. And teams are realistically looking at it that way as well. Whether it's right or wrong, we can have that debate. Coming up next, we'll debate if it's right or wrong. We're not doing that this moment. The reality is when you look at Cam Newton, if he's unvaccinated and you're going to be a backup, you need to be reliable, just as reliable as the starter. Whether it's right or wrong and this conversation angers you or not, the bottom line is that was a realistic factor too, that not just the Patriots considered, but that any team out there is going to consider about bringing him on board as well. Because if he comes in as a starter or a backup, you're going to constantly be worried that if we have to pay him a couple $1 million to come here, we can't be worrying about every time we have a COVID outbreak on this team and have to isolate guys and put him in quarantine. We have to wait a week and a half for him to come out of quarantine, even if he has it or not. That's going to be the problem. And that's where this comes in as a problem. I don't care about your opinion on the vaccine, not you necessarily, Kev, but I don't care about people's opinion about the vaccine itself. The reality is based on how the protocol is laid out, it does lead to decisions that teams have to make, some uncomfortable, some comfortable, and that's where we're at with that. What's next for him as well.
100%. The vaccine talk about Cam has been there since the beginning. People that don't know Cam, and I'm not trying to act like I know Cam Newton or anything like that, but he's a vegan, like a raw vegetable eating vegetarian vegan, and some people of that ilk don't believe in vaccines and things of that nature, which you have every right in the world to be. But the thing about it is exactly what you said. If there's an outbreak and you're not vaccinated and you catch COVID and you're the backup quarterback, hence backup quarterback, not a starter, and you're not Cam Newton, MVP Cam Newton, you have no leverage. Just like I'm almost 100% every walk-on at Ohio State is vaccinated, because if you weren't, you're not even on scholarship. We don't need you around. And I'm pretty sure that every undrafted rookie that actually made a team is vaccinated as well, because you don't want to give the organizations any wiggle room, any reason to cut you. They're looking for a reason to get rid of you. Like, look, man, let's get rid of him, because they have to trim their rosters down. What, the 53 dudes? Like, if it's two guys, two DBs, it's Kevin Kenner. Hey, man, both of them played great during practice. Both of them had an interception during the preseason. They play equally. You better believe they're going to look at the sheet like, all right, Kenner's vaccinated, Kev ain't. Bye, Kev. It's one less headache.
Is your talent worth the noise, though?
Yeah, It's one less headache. It's not worth it to them. And that is just one of the many reasons that Cam probably got cut. Like, it was probably low. Ultimately, it probably got there once they realized, like, all right, we're going to go with Mac Jones. And then that conversation came up about the internal situation with the New England Patriots about, like, well, he isn't vaccinated and we got to have a guy that we can rely on. And he's not vaccinated. So
that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Like, my point about, is your talent worth the noise? And that's what I always say about any situation in sports, because how many times in sports do we see things like, I can't believe, like Deshaun Watson, look at everything he's going through right now. Is his talent worth the noise? And it clearly is in the eyes of the Houston Texans, which is crazy because his noise was loud before the sexual assault allegations. He wanted out of Houston. Remember, there was drama there before all of this came out. This was just now everyone's focused on this and forgets about all the drama that was there before this. For instance, Patrick Mahomes, and I don't know, I haven't read anything about whether he's vaccinated or not or what stance he has on it, but the bottom line is, if he's not vaccinated, that you think the Chiefs are like, should we cut him? No, they're like, no, we'll figure it out because his talent's worth the noise.
Right.
And that's really what it all comes down to. And that's not a sports thing. That's everything in life. If you're good at your job, your bosses already know if you are worth the noise or not. If you're a pain in the behind to your bosses, you have to ask yourself, is my talent good enough that my bosses will deal with the noise? And that's what athletes have to ask themselves in these situations, especially. All right. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. We'll step away for a few. We appreciate everyone tuning in. We're live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube. Search the Justin Kinner Show on Facebook. Search ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel. Like and subscribe and be a part of the conversation. Let's go to the Facebook feed now. Daryl McKinney, the SEC commissioner. Look at that profile picture. He has the white goatee. I mean, he's styling and profiling. Good for the SEC commissioner. He says there's consequences in the culture of the hoodie. It's the Patriot way. And there you go. Josh Nichols on Facebook says, if Cam Newton doesn't want to be a backup, then he should retire. Where is he going where he can start and even sniff the playoffs? And that's a question that not just he's asking himself, but you got to think Cam Newton's asking himself, or not Cam Newton, I'm sorry, Andy Dalton's asking himself the same thing, which is why he went to Chicago. Andy Dalton, that was a great opportunity in Dallas to be the backup in Dallas. You had an opportunity to play, still a solid team, at least an opportunity, but he wanted to be a starter, and the Bears were that opportunity for him. That's why he went there. The next thing you know, he finds himself in a quarterback battle with Justin Fields, which for the time being he's come out on top of. But outside of Chicago, Washington. But what does that tell you that Ron Rivera has distanced himself from Cam Newton? Like, I didn't know there's always reports of potential beef between the two in Carolina, but nothing ever like physically came out that I'm aware of. I do find that weird because I think Washington, if Cam Newton is Cam Newton, I think Washington's a perfect spot for him. They have a great run game, good wide receivers, one of the best defenses in the NFL. Washington, to ask your question, Josh, I think Washington makes the most sense, but obviously the relationship with Ron Rivera, I mean, you can't tell me Ron Rivera has a better situation right here. It's basically the same. You have to ask yourself, which veteran quarterback do you want to attach yourself to? One you've never coached before, or one that you were a part of his MVP run and a Super Bowl run with? And he still won't attach himself to him. I find that weird. Anthony Price on Facebook says, you don't think the Giants would be a good fit? As a backup, yes, I think he'd be a good fit. I can make a list a mile long of backup opportunities for him that make a ton of sense.
He get to New York, he might take that job from Daniel Jones, man, because that dude just be out here fumbling off his knee. Like,
and he made some weird red zone decisions in the final preseason game.
And the Giants don't want that problem. They don't want a guy like Cam coming in there, a steadying hand to a turnover machine that is Daniel Jones. Like, that is just asking for trouble, like, because the GM drafted Daniel Jones. So if you bring in Cam Newton and he outperforms Daniel Jones, then you're gone too. Like, they're not going to be like, oh, good job, you brought in a 34-year-old quarterback, you get to stick around, GM. Like, no, you're out of here, and so is the quarterback you drafted. Both of y'all out of here. And matter of fact, Cam, you're out of here too. Thanks, appreciate the 6 wins you got for us. That's what's going to happen if Cam Newton shows up in New York.
All right, so you remember that story in the Michael Jordan documentary where he got cut in high school? Well, Michael Jordan got cut again today. We'll talk about that when we come back. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. That would have been a better tease if Kinner would have remembered the name of the damn documentary. We'll be back in just a moment.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mostly cloudy with showers and possibly a thunderstorm, a high near 80. Tonight will be mostly cloudy, also with showers and possibly a thunderstorm, a low around 63. And tomorrow will be mainly clear, a high near 80. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
I'm Serena Williams. You watch me live on TV.
And I'm that voice from movies you watch on demand. DirecTV Stream brought us together to save the world.
Maybe not save the world, but DirecTV Stream does bring your live and on-demand favorites together.
Your favorites together.
I just said that.
She just said that.
Introducing DirecTV Stream, the best of live TV and on demand with no annual contract. Get your TV together at DirecTV.com.
Requires high-speed internet and compatible device. Content varies by package and location. Restrictions apply.
It's grilling season. And you got the best beef brisket money can buy. Dry rubbed to perfection, slow smoked for 8 hours. And you dared to face that perfect smoky hickory wood flavor with subpar wood cooking pellets? Introducing Kingsford 100% hardwood pellets. No fillers or binders. Just 100% hardwood for 100% flavor. Learn more at kingsford.com.
Let's just take that out of your mouth.
At Ping's Pre-K, the growing enrollment is no play date.
Toilet is not a closet.
She needs more teachers certified in early childhood development.
Is it nap time yet? Lunch?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. With Indeed Instant Match, we immediately show you quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed meet your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi, John Glazer here for Glazier Soft Water. We've been making water great since 1988, and no matter what your water issues, we have solutions. Your city water can be clear, but still be hard and have the taste and odor of chlorine. Well water can look, smell, and taste terrible. Glazier Soft Water will fix your water and will even include a 7-year parts and labor warranty so you don't have to worry. Visit our website to learn more at glaziersoftwater.com. Glazier Water really is better water.
Hi folks, it's me again, and I'm cooking in the sun just like you are. But you know, you can still plant those trees and shrubs right now, and with proper watering, still gain a full summer's growth. We keep our garden center fully stocked all summer long with thousands of good, healthy trees, shrubs, evergreens, perennials, and annuals, because we know that some folks just can't get it all done in the spring. Also, this time of the year, there are lots of bargains all over our 6-acre nursery and greenhouses. We have potted rose bushes as low as $8.95, flats of annuals starting at $8.95, and hanging baskets starting at $6.95. We still have a great selection of Rose of Sharon, boxwoods, hydrangeas, and barberry, and lots of ponds, pottery, and statuary. So come on out to 1309 Brant Pike, and remember, we're open 7 days.
When will the danger become crystal clear? When you read another statistic? When it happens to your neighbor? When your family is shattered? When will you finally take action? Don't let another family's life fall to pieces due to the dangers of unsafe railroad crossings. Report bad railroad crossings at angelsontrack.org. That's angelsontrack.org. Because bad crossings kill good drivers. Sponsored by Angels on Track, aired by OAB and the station.
School's out for summer, but if your business is running QuickBooks, you'll never get a break. Their manual processes, integration difficulties, and glitchy delays will leave you scrambling for the numbers you need. Failing to graduate to NetSuite will leave you stuck in summer school while your friends party. NetSuite by Oracle is the #1 cloud financial system, no matter how big your business grows. With visibility and control of your financials, inventory, HR, e-commerce, and more, NetSuite is everything you need to grow all in one place. Automate your processes with NetSuite and close your books in no time. 93% of surveyed businesses increase their visibility and control since graduating to NetSuite. Special financing is back. NetSuite is offering a one-of-a-kind financing program to those ready to graduate.
Head to netsuite.com/radar right now. netsuite.com/radar. netsuite.com/radar.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
Parents, do you want your child's shoes to fit perfectly? Then you need to get your kids Skechers Stretch Fit shoes. Because Skechers Stretch Fit shoes are so comfortable and so stretchy, they easily slip on and fit almost like a sock. Your child is constantly moving and constantly growing, so they need a shoe that moves with them. And Skechers Stretch Fit's soft, stretchable material contours to their busy feet. It's a perfect fit. And not only do they fit like a dream, they perform like one too. Skechers Stretch Fit keeps your child's feet comfortable all day long. With Skechers' exclusive air-cooled memory foam and a breathable stretch fit knit, your child will be cool and comfy whether playing, studying, or just hanging out. Plus, you'll love just how durable they are. Stretch Fit is designed to take everything your child can throw at them, and if they get dirty, just pop them in the washing machine. It's that easy. Give your kids perfect comfort that adjusts to them with Skechers Stretch Fit shoes. Find them at a Skechers store near you, Skechers.com, or wherever kids' shoes are sold.
You may have heard that Allstate has new low auto rates, but isn't it time to see for yourself? Visit allstate.com or call an agent for a quote today.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzzed driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says I'm a catch more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Want free Reds tickets? How about a free MLB Network Reds bag? Maybe a Reds bobblehead? Here's an idea. How about we combine them all together and give you a chance to win a free WING Reds prize pack presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. Register daily at wingam.com. College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Fire Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio.
I'm a popular guy. Did you know that?
You're the ticket guy.
Yeah.
You're the candy man. You're the ticket man. There you go.
Candyman. I saw that this weekend.
Is that good?
Loved it. I love a good scary movie.
As a kid growing up, the film series Chucky just scared the living you-know-what out of me. To this day, I get nightmares. I'm not joking. If I even see a preview of it, it is very weird. Like, I'm not trying to be funny here. Like, if I even see a preview of that, as a kid, I would have night terrors of that damn little thing chasing me, trying to kill me. I crap you not. Like, that thing, it drives. So now USA, I believe, is they're not just doing a movie, they're doing a whole series on it.
Can't wait.
And I saw the commercial earlier today, so I'm telling you right now, I will most likely have a night terror tonight, and I'm not even exaggerating. That's the only movie. Kevin, movies don't scare me. I love the movie. Like, I watched all the horror movies growing up. None of those scared me. That one, for whatever reason, just terrified me. Maybe it's because it's my height. I don't know. But I always loved scary movies growing up. But for whatever reason, that one is the one that got me. Not Freddy, not Jason, not Freddy, not any of them guys. The stupid little doll. So there you go. The movie, when I was a little kid, Goosebumps, they did that little dummy. I forgot the name of that little dummy, but that same thing gave me nightmares. That thing scared the crap out of me. So there you go. Brian Hetzel on Facebook says that the Denver Broncos, that Bridgewater is always injured. They just have Drew Lock as their backup, though. Right. So I think that they're set as far as the backup goes. I think Dallas makes the most sense just because Cam is a big name. Dallas, just the branding purposes, it makes a ton of sense.
Bridgewater hasn't been hurt since he almost lost his leg. That was like in 2016, I want to say, wasn't it?
I would say Denver, if you're going to base it off Bridgewater, it's just because I'm not sold that Bridgewater is very good, but I'm not sold that that Cam's very good either. I mean, Bridgewater has had stints of explosiveness, but I'm excited to see if he gets regular snaps, which he is now, what that's going to look like. So we'll see. But I mean, again, when you're a starter that's constantly being you're constantly being moved on from for other talent, the Bridgewater, it would make sense why Cam would be there. But Cam and Bridgewater are very similar.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that the Broncos would want Cam. I mean, they have a quote unquote version of that, a veteran guy already there. If Bridgewater is going to be, his spot going to be taken, it's going to be taken by a younger player. somebody that they can develop and that has the same amount of talent that he does, that has a higher ceiling. I don't think they would. That's basically a lateral move.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting. How about this? Bishop Sycamore, which ironically enough, their initials are BS. Their head coach, Roy Johnson, was fired after Sunday's loss.
No.
The team played 2 games in 3 days, including a 58-0 loss to IMG on ESPN. I tweeted this out earlier today, and we lightly touched on it yesterday, as more and more has come out on this. I mean, there was just what a joke. What a joke. And the problem I have is this, too. Like, IMG coming out free of this, of any criticism, is just mind-boggling to me. Like, I know ESPN, it's 1,000,000% on them. Like they should get if we're gonna have a pie chart and we're gonna start divvying up, percents of blame, ESPN should eat the most of that. But the problem I have is IMG, no red flags popped up at all throughout the week. You're watching film, nothing's popping up. You're looking at their roster, you're looking at the ages of these, a roster that doesn't have the age of these kids, what year these kids are. You can't tell me that. You could maybe convince me, well, they don't have the ages of the players on there. Okay, but they do have the class, right? I guess if you see a bunch of junior seniors, it doesn't have the age, I guess. But just to sit here and say that they didn't come across any red flags along the way because they're so desperate to get games, because IMG Academy struggles to get games scheduled right now because of COVID. But again, I don't care. You're putting the safety of your kids at risk because you have a hard time scheduling, and we have a chance to get a game in, so let's go. That's the problem I have with all of this. IMG Academy needs more blame sent their way as well. I'm not willing to just say, it's all on ESPN, because their vetting, they need to do a better job vetting these, obviously. But IMG even playing that team. But I guess like St. Ignatius that just played at Springfield in week 1, the St. Ignatius played them last year. Yeah. And I believe another team from Moeller? LaSalle. So a lot of teams within a decent radius of here have played that team last year. Last year was their first year of existence. Very weird. Very weird storyline. This is like the Monte Teo storyline. This is like the weirdest storyline in sports since Monte Teo, and I'm not joking. It's that weird.
So one of my good friends, he's an athletic director up there in Columbus, and I talked to him about this situation. And he's heard of this school before, and the company that does the scheduling for teams like IMG Academy and Xavier and St. Ed's and things of that nature, because they don't belong to, a conference and everything like that. They kind of like outsource games to fill in the gaps. And this company, Paragon, like they receive money. So especially if you're going to get a team on ESPN, like they get a little kickback, and then they kick it back to, the schools and things of that nature for getting them on TV and getting them a game schedule and everything like that. And these are services that, schools like St. Ignatius pay. Like they pay for them to, find us a game. So I know yesterday I was with you on the same boat about like, well, hold on, isn't IMG Academy a little liable here too? I think the most of the blame goes on this company Paragon for not doing their homework, because they're the one giving these guys the games and they're giving them to ESPN as well. So the big culprit here obviously is Sycamore. That's number one.
Fair enough.
They're number one. They're the number
Here I am crapping on ESPN.
they're the number one bad guys, obviously. And then it's the company that
kept going in for himself over here.
Then it's the company Paragon who is outsourcing these games to ESPN and the other schools across the country, like LaSalle, like St. Ed's, St. Ignatius, and IMG Academy, then ESPN, and then the schools, at least in my opinion, are tier on this. But the biggest criminal in this whole situation is Bishop Sycamore. And something I also talked to my buddy about, like there isn't a Bishop Sycamore. Like we have Bishop Alter, like that was actually a bishop, and the church thing. There was no Bishop Sycamore. So for my people out there that are real religious and know things about that, so there wasn't one. So this is not only made up, this is totally made up. There was never a Bishop Sycamore. So this is a train wreck in every sense of the word, man. I can't even believe like this happened. And I feel so bad for the announcers because they smelled something. They smelled something was up. Like this just doesn't look right. And it's easy to fly under the radar when you're just playing LaSalle on a Friday night and it's not on ESPN. But when you're like the week 0 game, so like, all right, man, we got Nebraska and Illinois at 1 o'clock. And then we got IMG Academy taking on Bishop Sycamore at 4 o'clock. And then at 6 o'clock, we got this game. So you're like being promoted all week. So people sitting around the house turning on football and they watch this, like that's what brings all the eyes to it. Because if this was never on ESPN, nobody would have never thought anything about it. It just flew under the radar and kept on flying underneath the radar. Because like you said yesterday, good teams get blown out all the time. Like you talked about Wayne getting blown out when they had a lot of D1 guys. Like it happens. It's football. Blowouts happen. But if this wasn't on ESPN, this wouldn't have been found out. Nobody would have found this out.
But just like, I mean, same thing. I mean, they played a full schedule last year.
Yeah.
They've played multiple games already this year, and they've been under the radar because there's a lot. And by the way, this isn't the only fake team out there, probably.
Oh, absolutely.
And we shouldn't say fake. It's a real team technically under false pretenses, if that makes sense, I guess. But so Jared Luganbill, who we have on every week to preview the top 3 games in the Miami Valley, he released the statement that he tweeted this out earlier. It was the statement from the OHSAA regarding Bishop Sycamore. This is the OHSAA statement regarding Bishop Sycamore. The OHSAA says that Bishop Sycamore is not an OHSAA member school, so we do not have much information about them. Whether or not they are an actual school would be up to the Ohio Department of Education, not them, not the OHSAA. Our member schools are permitted to play non-members, but they do not receive any computer points for playing them in football. So when IMG, I thought, basically OHSAA comes out and says, hey, don't look at us. Like, they're not even a member school. It's not like if they were a member school under them, then they would have some answers that they would need to provide. But that's not the case here. But at least they did spit something out saying, hey, even our member schools, you could play non-member schools, out-of-state teams. That's why you see teams from Canada. We see, we've seen some of those games in the area. I know years ago when I lived in Coldwater, I remember Maria Stein played a team from Canada that was billed as one of the bigger games of that season. I remember that was such a big deal. But obviously playing those teams, it doesn't count towards your playoff points or whatever. So that was interesting nonetheless. But all right, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash presented by Orion Sports Medicine. We'll step away for a few moments. As I said, Michael Jordan was cut today. The Cincinnati Bengals have moved on from the guard, former Buckeye. And it's interesting because we were all excited when the Bengals started going that Buckeye route. They had Billy Price. You go out and get Michael Jordan, and it obviously did not work out. But you start looking at how this offensive line looks completely different just from 2 or 3 years ago. We'll touch on that. Again, Michael Jordan released today as part of the cuts, the roster cut downs by the Cincinnati Bengals. Does that surprise any of you Bengals fans? Thumbs up, thumbs down. We'll get to that coming up as we close out hour number 1. We'll also talk Ohio State, Minnesota, as well as Clemson and Georgia. And we'll talk about some of the biggest matchups in week 1 of the college football season with ESPN's Adam Rittenberg. He'll join us top of the hour, 15 minutes from now. Don't go anywhere.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
Menards has amazing deals to give your workshop an upgrade. Light up your entire workspace with a 46-inch ultra-bright shop light. This special buy has 12,000 lumens to brighten up large areas. And you can easily connect up to 4 fixtures. Get one for only $19.99 after sale price and 11% rebate. That's half price. Good through September 6th. Savings or mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
You wanted the best? Well, you got the best. The hottest band in the world. Cheers.
Kiss. The end of the road tour. One last kiss. This Thursday, Wright State's Nutter Center. Kiss on their final tour ever. On sale now at Ticketmaster.com. History will be made.
Welcome to a place where everyone deserves to be better protected, where technology has your back, where you can have better protection and keep more money in your pocket, where you can have protection for your car, your home, your phone, and even your digital identity. Welcome to a place where your entire life can be better protected. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Allstate and affiliates offer products and services subject to availability, terms, and conditions.
What's up? This is Riley. And a little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A Grilled Chicken Club sandwich is the applewood bacon. It's savory, and then it's also kind of sweet. And I think the combination of bacon with chicken and Colby Jack cheese, it just really knocks it out of the park.
Hey, I'm Tanea. A little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A Grilled Chicken Club sandwich is the chicken. It's so juicy. It's grilled to perfection. I'm going to devour this sandwich.
Order the Grilled Chicken Club sandwich on the Chick-fil-A app today. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
As much as we say we love nature, when it comes to bugs, not so much. When it comes to trees, the Ohio chapter of the International Society of Arboriculture wants you to know that most insects are not harmful to trees, especially if their populations are small. There are exceptions to that, but don't forget, every insect has a predator that's just looking to make it a meal. So sometimes it's just good to let nature take care of itself. If you're concerned about insects in your trees, find an ISA certified arborist near you at treesforohio.org. That's trees4ohio.org.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
I struggled with symptoms like frequent gas and stomach pain for years.
I was bloated all the time with daily diarrhea.
At first, I thought it was what I was eating.
I kept thinking it was stomach issues.
So I did my research and talked to my doctor, and we finally uncovered the truth.
It was actually EPI. Exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI, is a condition where your pancreas is unable to help break down your food.
It can lead to symptoms like diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, unexplained weight loss, and oily stools.
And EPI symptoms can be confused with those of other common digestive conditions, like irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, and celiac disease.
So getting to the right diagnosis meant being more open with my doctor about the severity of my symptoms and how often they were happening.
But there's good news. EPI is manageable, so don't wait any longer. Use the symptom checker at identifyepi.com and schedule a visit or call with your doctor to ask, could I have EPI?
Sponsored by AbbVie.
Many Vietnam War veterans were unknowingly exposed to dangerous chemicals impacting their health and quality of life. There are now expanded benefits for veterans exposed to Agent Orange. Veterans with Parkinsonism, bladder cancer, or hypothyroidism who previously applied for VA disability compensation but were denied should reapply and might be eligible for retroactive compensation. Exposed veterans who have not yet applied should consider filing a new claim. For assistance, call Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission at 937-225-4801.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? You're probably looking for some fuel treatment. It cleans your fuel system to help your engine run smoother, and that means better gas mileage. Right now, you can get 2 bottles of Lucas Complete Fuel Treatment for just $8, plus a $1 bonus reward if you're an AutoZone Rewards member. Not a member? Don't worry. We can sign you up fast right here or on AutoZone.com. Getting the job done just got easier.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Hey, want to look like $1 million bucks, but only spend a handful of bucks? Upgrade to a Dollar Shave Club 6-blade razor and get an extra close shave thanks to their 6 precision-cut stainless steel blades. Dollar Shave Club. It's what dreams are shaved of. Find your perfect shave wherever you shop, in-store and online at dollarshaveclub.com. That's dollarshaveclub.com. Welcome to the club.
Staples is evolving to Staples Connect, a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore what's new at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
He's a former Buckeyes great and now a college football Hall of Famer. And don't forget about his 13 years of NFL experience playing for the Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, and the New England Patriots. He's Dayton's own Keith Byers. Hang out with him every Monday at noon on The Keith Byers Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER. And ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
My left hand, by the way. Buckets. You got to look at it like Shaq when he used to make layups with his left. Or Booker T. Tell me your name's Kevin Nash. You don't know who Booker T is.
I know who Booker T is.
Who's Booker T?
Wrestler, man.
He's a brother. WCW. You'll like this. WCW or WWE? I'm going to test your knowledge.
Well, he definitely was with WWE.
So he wasn't with WCW?
I mean, they always used to flip-flop.
So what about AEW? Was he with AEW?
No.
Why wasn't he with AEW?
Because I don't know who AEW is.
So yes, he was WCW before WWF, then WWE. He's not been with AEW.
You're trying to play me on my wrestling now, just because I'm not a wrestling guy.
You play me every day on all sports, so I figured the one thing I know more than you is wrestling. So we'll just go there a little bit.
Definitely do. But I do remember a day where the WCW used to come on TNT and TBS, and WWF at the time was strictly on USA, and then WWF took over everything and basically took WCW's all their good wrestlers and everything like that. WCW folded and then got bought out. So yeah, you know what I'm saying? I remember that type of stuff.
So every time I book guests on the show, I'm always like, it'll be me and my, co-host Kev Nash. And they're like, Kev Nash, the wrestler. So, you already disappoint them coming in because they all get their hopes up. And then they're stuck dealing with me. And then they think they have at least Kev Nash, the WWE Hall of Famer. And then it's just some guy named Kev Nash that's not even a fan of wrestling. Doesn't make any sense. What did I see today? So it was actually pretty funny. I screenshotted it one moment. Let me find this. It said, please, these are players that were released from the NFL today. Michael Jordan, Bill Murray, and Lamar Jackson. And SB Nation, they tweet out, Lamar Jackson, no, not that one. Michael Jordan, no, not that one. Bill Murray, no, not that one. All three cut today, but there you go. But yeah, Michael Jordan cut today by the Bengals. Again, former Buckeye. We talked about, Billy Price being traded just the other day, of course, yesterday. Was it yesterday?
Yeah.
This is only Tuesday, right?
Yes.
It's a long week and it's only Tuesday. So there's that. It's interesting. So I went back and looked, and again, this is just according to Depth Chart. Like 2018, you had Cordy Glenn, Clint Bowling, Billy Price, Alex Redmond, Bobby Hart. 2019, you had Andre Smith, Michael Jordan, Hopkins, and Billy Price kind of interchanged. John Miller, Bobby Hart. Now you look at 2020 last year, Jonah Williams, Michael Jordan, Trey Hopkins, Alex Redmond, Bobby Hart. Completely revamped offensive line. Now, revamped at times means it's upgraded. I don't know if unless it's addition by subtraction, I don't know if it's upgraded. You can say it's better than it's been. But again, like I always say, I'm 5'7". If I wake up tomorrow and I'm 5'8", I could tell people I'm taller, but I can't tell people I'm tall. So are you better than you were 2 years ago, a year ago? Maybe. But you can't say that you're good. You know what I mean? Like people could think I'm trolling them all they want, but that's the reality of it. Again, I could tell people I got taller, but I can't tell people I'm tall. You could tell me that your offensive line is better, but until you could tell me that it's good, that's not good enough. Jonah Williams, Quentin Spain, Trey Hopkins, and then Suafilo and Riley Reif. Of course, Jackson Carman, the backup at the right guard spot. Fred Johnson, behind Riley Reif. At this point, we'll see. Look, I'm just glad to finally see no more Cordy Glenn, no more Bobby Hart. I mean, my goodness, no more, Michael Jordan, no more Billy Price. Fan of them because they were Buckeyes. And I wanted them to work out. If the Bengals were going to figure out their offensive line, I wanted it to be those guys that were a part of the upgrade, but it just wasn't the case. But that wasn't a good day to be a Buckeye and a Bengal this past week. And it's only Tuesday. Let's just put it that way.
So they got to be down to 53 by 4:00, right?
Is it 4:00 today? Yeah, the 30th. Wait, what is today? 31st. Yeah, today.
So there's going to be a big name out there because these names are like Michael Jordan to us is a big name because he played for the Buckeyes and everything like that. But there's going to be a big name out there that gets cut that we're not expecting.
And some of those are usually
maybe it was
cap space guys. Cam Newton's the biggest one so far. That was like a shocker to people because we were waiting to find out who's the starter, and then it wasn't finding out who was going to lose their job, and that's ultimately kind of how it played out. The Browns cut so far. Kadarius Hodge is the main one that surprised people.
Wide receiver, right?
Yeah, very good special teams player as well. But overall, look, the Browns had a lot of talent in the back end as well. I'm not losing sleep over anyone that they lost. The Bengals, I see a lot, they're up. Some fans are upset with some of the pieces they lost today, which we'll talk about more in hour number 2. But overall, this is what you get. Again, didn't have a lot of depth at O-line coming into the season, and you've moved on from 2 of your offensive linemen already. In both Buckeyes, of course, Billy Price, you cut Michael Jordan. I still think that even if you're slightly better with your guys up front, starting wise, not a lot of depth. You don't have a whole lot of margin for error right there. So I hope that 5 of Jonah Williams, Spain, Hopkins, Suafilo, and Reif, I hope that's enough to take to protect Burrow. Because Bengals fans, I'm going to look at the camera for this one. You think I'm a hater, that's fine, but we all want the same thing, and we want Joe Burrow to stay healthy. I don't care if the Bengals win or not. When they lose, I enjoy it because I like to poke fun at you guys. In Kinner's perfect world, the Bengals lose while Burrow averages 303 touchdowns a game. That's my perfect world. I even choked on that. Sorry. That's what I get, karma. All right, we got a guest coming up. We'll step away for a few moments. We'll get back into this Bengals talk and Browns talk here coming up around the corner. NFL roster cuts. Again, 4 o'clock the deadline, which is in 2 minutes. What's also in 2 minutes is our conversation with ESPN's Adam Rittenberg. We'll talk about the Buckeyes as they head to Minnesota for their Week 1 matchup. We'll talk Clemson and Georgia. We'll talk about some of the biggest Week 1 matchups in college football. College football is officially here. We'll get to that with ESPN's Adam Rittenberg. He joins us next.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Goodyear believes in the power of moving forward. No matter if it's on the track, the court, or the field, movement makes us want to be more. It pushes us to go further, to show the world what we can do. Movement has the unique ability to change our perspective, to challenge us, to work for a better tomorrow. Movement can even bring us together when we're still. Because if we're focused on the next move, we don't have to worry about what's behind us. Goodyear, more driven.
5G is here, but the big carriers want you to sign a pricey long-term contract to get in on the action. Well, no more, because Straight Talk Wireless has rolled out 5G coverage nationwide, with plans starting at just $35 a month with no contract. And get a Samsung Galaxy A32 5G for only $299, all on America's best networks. 5G coverage, 5G phones, less money. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. 5G capable device required, actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
Maybe now is the time for a new job and a fresh start. Alpha Media Dayton and ESPN 1410 Wing are interviewing for radio account executives. Radio reaches more people than any other medium, and combined with our digital ad products, you will provide clients with effective on-air and online solutions that deliver results. If you consider yourself driven, competitive, have sales experience, and want to work in radio, we need you. To submit your resume, log on to wingam.com and click careers. Alpha Media is an equal opportunity employer.
Is fall your favorite season? Lowe's is definitely the place to get ready for it, especially during Labor Day. From fall garden gear to seasonal decor, they have it all at a great price.
You wanted to see me?
Yes, please, have a seat. So here's the thing. When this company brought you on, we took a chance on you. You didn't have that 4-year college degree we typically look for.
Right.
But we gave you a shot anyway. And since then, you've worked incredibly hard and given it your all.
Thanks.
You've been an important asset to the team, but I don't think you can be an intern here anymore. We want to hire you.
You're serious?
Absolutely.
Find your next great employee. Introduce yourself to the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
I won't let you down.
I know. Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzz driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely, like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says I'm a catch more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
We are Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Into the end zone goes Chris Olave. KJ Hill, 6-yard touchdown catch. Right sideline and down he goes to the end zone.
WING 1410 Dayton's ESPN Radio. We're live. We're local.
What are you going to miss? He struck him out.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
Hour number 2, we welcome you in. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash hanging out with you here on a Tuesday. So yesterday, it was announced that Springfield and Trotwood, their Week 3 matchup, was officially canceled due to some COVID issues with the Trotwood Rams program. And unfortunately, that was our Week 3 that was our Week 3 game of the week, or Glacier Softwater game of the week. We have rescheduled a game, or we have picked up a new game for our game of the week, and we will be bringing you CJ at Fairmont this coming up Friday night, 7 o'clock. The kickoff, and we've already seen Fairmont with a couple impressive wins, winning the Battle of Kettering in Week 1 against Alter, and then getting that 35-0 shutout win against Trotwood in Week 2, and now they'll look to keep it going as they have a very good CJ team coming in this Friday night, 7 o'clock. College Football Hall of Famer Keith Byers and myself, we will have the call as we bring you Week 3 action for our Glacier Softwater High School football game of the week. Well, excited for that matchup, but we're also super excited for, of course, the Ohio State Buckeyes as they, of course, kick off their season whenever they have Minnesota. They're going to be hitting the road. They'll be playing at Minnesota. And joining us now to talk all things Buckeyes, Minnesota, Big Ten, and college football, ESPN's Adam Rittenberg with us now. Adam, welcome in, sir. How are you?
Doing great, Justin. How you doing?
Good. I appreciate your time as always. First of all, you tweeted out earlier, you didn't have a lot of words to say about that. It was just wow. In regards to Quinn Ewers, $1.4 million deal, I believe it was. I mean, the kid's a millionaire. I think he made the right decision to skip his senior year of high school, huh?
Yeah, I think, certainly there's the kind of purists like us who maybe think it's good for a kid to finish high school, but it's a lot of money to leave on the table. And it'll be really interesting to see if this is, truly a trend, whether top players like this who can finish school a year early will be able to get this type of money on a regular basis, or whether the businesses, see that it may not be a good investment. Maybe they go even more into this realm, and there's 10 guys a year that are like Quinn Ewers, but certainly it looks like a strong business decision for him. Even though obviously I don't think he'll be much of a factor for the team this year, that he's already starting that NIL clock and can make quite a bit of money while he's a college athlete.
You talk about the NIL clock, and that's interesting too. So for $1.4 million, they'll be signing autographs for at least the next 3 years. But that NFL clock is ticking as well. Now we might be getting a little too far ahead of ourselves, but with all the chatter regarding the talent of Quinn Ewers, I mean, you hear the comparisons to Trevor Lawrence and some of these others. That NFL clock is ticking as well. I know that when you look at the coaching staff for Ohio State, you already are faced with the fact that he's not going to be really involved with the program hardly at all on game days this coming up season. But you're also using up a year of that potential time you could have with him, and now you're looking at maybe 1 to 2 years with them with that NFL clock ticking. How much of a factor has that played in here? I don't know how much you talk to coaches one-on-one versus in press conferences, but do you get any coaches telling you that they don't like this NIL stuff in regards to the players, skipping high school to attend a year early?
Well, I get a lot of coaches who say that, but I think they also realize this is, probably not going the other direction. I think it'll be interesting to see how it works out with the timelines for Ohio State's quarterbacks. I think there's always a realistic expectation that the quarterbacks are going to transfer in and out. So depending on how CJ Stroud does, that could affect Jack Miller and Kyle McCord. And then when Quinn Ewers gets in the mix, that could impact all 4 of those guys. So it's I think it's unrealistic to expect kind of the Tom Brady type who waits 3 or 4 years to get to get their turn to play. That's not going to happen at the college level very often, at least for these highly touted guys. But no, I think coaches I talk to are generally don't like this and don't think it's good that guys are skipping their senior years of high school. But it's again understandable when you see the dollars that are attached to some of these NIL deals that we're hearing about.
Now, when you say that they tell you that, are those like in private conversations, one-on-one interviews, or are coaches saying these in open press conferences to the media? What's the vibe you're getting there?
No, I would just tell you that 98% of the conversations I have with coaches are private, and that's kind of how I'm going to do my job.
No, you're fine. I wanted to know more so if they're saying these like publicly like that, but I figured that you're going to be getting the truthful answers behind the scenes more so than the politicalized answers, of course, to the media as a whole. So that's why I was asking. But Kev Nash, you could jump in.
Yeah, I just wanted to know about how you view this whole NLI situation with some schools like Ohio State totally embracing it and Alabama embracing it, where you have, our biggest rival, that team of North Michigan, and one of their star basketball players speaking out against about how Michigan is approaching the NIL situation.
Right. Well, it's definitely different, campus to campus, but I do think that the schools that aren't embracing it and maybe aren't supporting their athletes as much as possible, it is a recruiting disadvantage. I mean, I think that there's definitely a connection here between what you can earn from an NIL deal or how your school is helping, you build your brand, and the kind of supporting element versus, being more of an obstructionist. So I think that's the balance that schools have to find and that coaches have to find. But I would certainly want, if I was running an athletic department, I would cater a lot of resources and time and energy and ultimately money towards the support area versus making it harder for these athletes to go out and profit off of themselves. Because again, once this happened and it was building for years, it's not going to go the other direction. It's never going to go the other direction. So it's like coaches I talk to, they can wring their hands about it and wish they had more control. But ultimately, it's those that are going to adjust best to the reality of this environment who are going to have the most success, and those who are going to struggle with it are probably going to struggle as far as their programs as well.
I could talk about the expansion of the playoff. I could talk about Texas and Oklahoma going to the SEC all day. But the real reason why he got you on is the actual games, and the real games start kicking off this weekend. Which game are you looking for the most checking out?
Well, in the immediate, it's Ohio State, Minnesota, because I'll be there. Excited to take the trip up to Minneapolis to watch the Buckeyes and the Gophers. And then obviously over the weekend, there's several of them. Actually, the Big Ten slate is outstanding with so many conference games and two real big ones on Saturday with Penn State and Wisconsin meeting in Madison. Those are two teams that struggled during the pandemic year in 2020. Penn State 0-5, and they rebounded to go 4-5. And then Wisconsin was 4-3. So both of those teams are looking to challenge Ohio State in the conference. And then Indiana and Iowa, not far away in Iowa City, another huge opening game for those teams. Indiana has high hopes. They're in the top 20. Iowa's in the top 20. So excited to watch them. And then nationally, two games to me jump out. I think, certainly Clemson and Georgia is the featured game of the week. Two playoff contenders, top 5 teams. And then I'm really excited to watch LSU and UCLA. LSU was unbelievable a couple of years ago, won a national title. A lot of things went against them last year. Now they're having to obviously relocate because of the hurricane and prepare for this game. And then UCLA, they already have a game under their belt. They look like a much improved team under Chip Kelly. So excited to see those two teams at the Rose Bowl. But there's a lot of good ones this week, guys. Louisiana, Billy Napier going to play Steve Sarkisian and Sark's debut at the University of Texas. So a lot to watch in week one.
Adam, so Ohio State, number 4 in the country, they're at Minnesota Thursday night, your non-traditional kickoff to a season, of course. And we've seen Ohio State kick off on Thursday nights before. They kicked off at Indiana a few years ago. But what's always interesting to me is if this was just a noon kickoff, Ohio State, Minnesota, I don't want to disrespect Minnesota and say I wouldn't be worried about them at all, but I wouldn't be as anxious, I guess. I think that this sets up a different type of atmosphere. For one, you have CJ Stroud making his college football debut as a starter. You're making making your debut on the road. You're making your debut on the road under the lights. All eyes are going to be on you in that game that night. I mean, it's a high pressure filled situation here. What's your gut telling you about this Minnesota matchup for Ohio State versus if it would just be a kickoff at noon on a Saturday mixed with all the other college football games going on? Does that help Minnesota in this situation?
Yeah, I think a little bit. I think the crowd's going to be excited. I think they feel like they're going to have an improved team from last year. A lot of veteran players on that Gopher squad. Listening to their coordinators earlier this week, they feel optimistic about their chances. But they're also realistic that, talent-wise, it's very, nobody has the talent that Ohio State does. So you want to create something early in that game, a takeaway, something that throws off C.J. Stroud, and then you try to take the lead and see where it goes from there if you're the Gophers. But Ohio State's also used to big moments, and even if it's a noon game, the attention's always on the Buckeyes and how they're going to perform, and that's why you come to Ohio State. So I think Ryan Day has done a nice job. I think even before the season of focusing his team on this start, on the Minnesota game and then the Oregon game, because he knows those are two good teams, and if Ohio State doesn't perform to their capabilities, they can lose those games. If they do, they're going to win because they're one of the most talented teams in college football. But I think, certainly the Thursday start, the night game, being on the road, it's going to add some elements. But if Ohio State can get through that and Stroud can get through that with a win, I think it's going to benefit them for the rest of the season.
Penn State, Wisconsin, you talked about that big game already, a big weekend lineup for the Big Ten especially. But when you look at the Big Ten as a whole, you look at Iowa, Penn State, you look at Indiana, who's kind of new blood to this threat mix, if you want to talk about it like that. But when you look at who's the biggest threat to Ohio State in the Big Ten, and of course this is low-hanging fruit question, but where does Indiana fall in the ranking of the team to be most concerned about in the Big Ten if you're Ohio State? I mean, obviously, they have a very, very good quarterback, which of course that's the chunk of the biggest chunk of the battle right there. But where do you rank Indiana in the Big Ten as far as being one of the biggest threats to Ohio State at this point? When you look at Penn State, you look at Wisconsin and Iowa and some of the others.
Well, historically, they're not there. I mean, historically, Wisconsin and Penn State, Iowa are going to challenge Ohio State. Even Northwestern's gotten to the Big Ten title game 2 of the last 3 years. But Indiana is all in this year. I mean, they brought in a lot of transfers. They're hoping Michael Penix, the quarterback, can stay healthy. He showed what he could do against Ohio State last year and really stressed that Buckeye defense. And now they have to go on the Buckeyes have to go on the road to play Indiana. But I think we'll learn about where Indiana is these first few weeks. They not only get Iowa in the opener, but then they get Cincinnati in week 3. And so, they're going to be a really tested team, but also a team that if they're not as good, they're going to be exposed as well. And so I think it's certainly not a team to take lightly because of the talent and the development and some of the players that Tom Allen has brought in via transfer. And if Penix is healthy, they're really going to be a tough one, not just for Ohio State, but throughout that East Division. But their overall schedule is very challenging. So Indiana could be a team, guys, that has a worse record than last year, but actually be a better team. It's just going to be tough for them because of the way the schedule breaks.
You brought up Indiana and them playing UC. This is kind of like a two-part question for me. What does the loss of defensive coordinator Marcus Freeman do for UC, and how does he help Notre Dame?
Well, I think he's already helping Notre Dame from a recruiting standpoint, and I think it'll be good for him to sort of be on his own from Luke Fickell schematically and be able to kind of be his own coordinator in that sense. But Notre Dame, I think, needs a bit of a jolt recruiting wise, and he's already provided that. And then, I don't think it's going to hurt Cincinnati a whole lot, honestly, even though he was an important part of that staff. Luke Fickell has a tremendous background on defense. So he brought over Mike Tressel, a guy who's very familiar with, who's a proven defensive coach in the Midwest. And so I don't expect them to have much of a drop-off. I think it's more of a gain from Notre Dame's perspective than a loss from Cincinnati's perspective.
Adam, and the biggest matchup obviously being Georgia-Clemson this weekend. Obviously, whoever wins this, it's a huge win for either a top 5 showdown, but which team can afford a loss more than the other, if that makes sense? Which team, as far as playoff resume, which team can handle a close loss more so than the other?
Well, Georgia has the advantage of playing in the SEC, and you look at the rest of their schedule, even if they were to lose, they'd still be, pretty heavy favorite to make it to the SEC championship game. The only thing is then they would have no margin for error. So if they lose to Clemson, they need to win the SEC championship game. If they beat Clemson and they lose to, say, Alabama in the SEC championship game as their only loss, maybe they could still get into the college football playoff. Clemson, on the other hand, they enter a league where they're far and away the best team in the ACC, and they would be heavily favored to run the table. So it's hard to tell. I think the key is that unless one team blows out the other, I wouldn't overreact too much. It just would put some extra pressure on that team to win its league, the team that loses. Whereas it'd be interesting to see if Clemson somehow beat Georgia and then somehow lost the ACC, didn't win that championship. Would they still be an obvious choice for the playoff? They'd have a great resume with that out-of-conference win against Georgia, but then, whoever they lost to in the ACC, that would be held against them.
Adam, my last question for you is second-year head coaches, almost basically like year 1.5, because last year really didn't happen because of COVID and everything like that. What second-year coach do you think is going to have the biggest impact for their team?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I got to go through the list because you're right. It's, you look at a guy like Mel Tucker, and he took over so late at Michigan State. It was hard to really implement a lot of what he wanted to do, and he brought in a ton of transfers for his year 2 team. Interested to see what they can do there. You look at Jimmy Lake at Washington. I really liked this hire at the time, the promotion from a defensive coordinator spot. They only played 4 games last year because of COVID, so I could see them potentially taking a step forward, although there's some question marks around them as well. And so, it just, again, a lot of those coaches were in a really tough situation, and either the season was shortened or it just couldn't find that rhythm. And so I think you're going to get a much better evaluation of where those coaches are in year 2, even though it's sort of year 1 for many of them.
All right. Before the season, technically this week 0 last week that we've already seen games, but send us out with this. We have ESPN's Adam Rittberg talking all things college football. Send us out with this. A lot of big matchups this weekend, but if you had to guess who your college football playoff 4 would be right now, who are your college football playoff 4?
Yeah, you're not going to love this because there's no Big Ten team, but I got Georgia, Alabama, Clemson, Oklahoma. But it certainly can change and will change. And if the Buckeyes can answer some of the questions that I have, and I'm sure some of their fans have on the defensive side, I think I feel a little bit more comfortable picking them to get back to the playoff.
Now, real quick, I lied to you. You opened the door. You opened the door. So give me one more question here. In this part of in Buckeye country, there are no flaws. There are no questions. This team is perfect. CJ Stroud's already won the Heisman. So you don't have him in the playoff, which means you see a potential loss, maybe 2. What are your, in all seriousness, so what are your questions for Ohio State at this point? Because I am kind of being serious. In this parts right here, we're so confident. We never look at the flaws of the team. What are you saying that you're realistically concerned about with Ohio State that we should be keeping an eye on? Because like I said, it's like, that's our baby. No one ever says their baby's ugly. So we never say our baby's ugly. So you need to tell us why our baby's ugly. What's wrong with Ohio State in your eyes?
I'm just not overly impressed with their defense. I just look at it, and it's especially losing some of the linebackers they did. Mm-hmm. Like who really wows you in that secondary right now? Which linebacker is gonna continue the incredible tradition they have at linebacker? Who's the guy up front that strikes fear in you? And then schematically, I have some concerns. Kerry Coombs is a great recruiter. I don't know if he's a great defensive coordinator, to be honest. So this is what I'm watching this year, because we know. You put C.J. Stroud in there, put any of those quarterbacks, they're going to score. They're just too good on that side of the ball, and their coaches are too good. I don't feel the same way about their defense, and you saw it against Indiana last year. Mm-hmm. You certainly saw it against Alabama in the national title game. And so I think there's definitely something to prove on that side of the ball. And if they do that, then my view of them as being a playoff team will certainly change. But we're going to find out a lot in these first 2 weeks. Minnesota's improved. They run the ball well. They got a good offensive line. And then Oregon is an offense with a lot of different weapons that can challenge that defense. So I would expect Ohio State to win those games, but we're going to learn a lot more about their defense here the first 2 weeks.
All right, good stuff. ESPN's Adam Rittberg, awesome enough to hang out with us here today on a Tuesday. Ohio State kicks off the season Thursday night on the road at Minnesota, 8 o'clock, the kickoff. Adam, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it as always. Take care.
All right, thanks, guys.
Later.
All right, that was ESPN's Adam Rittberg. I appreciate him hanging out with us a little bit. Wow. No, I mean, and
he's not welcome.
No, he is welcome. I love real people. I love people that don't come on to tell you. I mean, because with some reporters you have on, Kev, and they're like, okay, I'm going to pander to the fans. I'm going to tell them great. Like that's what the majority of reporters that you have on do, which is why we don't do a lot of interviews, because I'm like, I could tell you the same fluff that they're going to tell you. But I appreciate Adam coming on and saying basically, hey, this team's not as well polished as you think. I know that you read all the fanboy blogger sites that are out there that tell you that this car has no issues. They're the ultimate used car salesman. I appreciate Adam coming on, but it's something that we haven't talked about already. It is defensively, but I find he said that they should win weeks 1 and 2, but I look at weeks 1 and 2 as two of the bigger challenges. I'm not saying, Penn State's obviously going to be tough. We'll learn more about Wisconsin as we go, but he doesn't see any Big Ten team in the college football playoff.
Yikes. And not to be like tooting our own horn, these are the same things we've been talking about for the longest since the middle of last season. Like, where are the playmakers at the defensive line? Where are the playmakers at linebacker? Where's the playmaker in the secondary? Outside of guys being a year older, the linebackers graduating, I saw P. Warner made the New Orleans Saints and everything like that. Happy for him and everything like that. But, just because there's guys behind them doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be playmakers either. So it's kind of put up or shut up for a lot of these guys that have been on a roster for quite some time now, that have those precious stars by their names as they came into college and everything like that. It's time to live up to those star rankings and make some plays, because that's what really we all care about. Like, playmakers, make some plays, man. Be the silver bullets. Be that wrecking ball. Do what we do. Have that impact on the defensive line like a Bosa or a Chase Young. Have that impact at the linebacking core, like Darren Lee did. You know what I'm saying? Have that impact like Malik Hooker. Have that impact like Okuda. Like, I could go on and on and on and on and on about the impact players at every level of the defense Ohio State has had just over the last 5 years. They didn't have that last year, and they have to have that this year if they want to win the national championship.
All right, Justin Kidder, Kev Nash. That was Kev Nash saying, hey, I told you so.
Basically.
So humble.
Basically.
I would never. When I come back, I'll tell you why I was right about the Bengals offensive line. No. All right, we'll step away for a few moments. So PGA golf in the news. They're trying to, I think they've learned a lot from Texas. I have the golf version of Horns Down. When we come back, I'll explain. Don't go anywhere.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mostly cloudy with showers and possibly a thunderstorm, a high near 80. Tonight will be mostly cloudy, also with showers and possibly a thunderstorm, a low around 63. And tomorrow will be mainly clear, a high near 80. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
You wanted the best? Well, you got the best. The hottest band in the world. Cheers!
Kiss. The end of the road tour. One last kiss. This Thursday, Wright State's Nutter Center. Kiss on their final tour ever. On sale now at Ticketmaster.com. History will be made.
We're planning a trip to Spain later this year.
But our Spanish
is pretty bad. So we're using Babbel.
Babbel's conversation-based method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babbel's interactive, bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you learned.
There's no easier way to learn another language.
Ahora hablamos español.
He just said, now we speak Spanish.
Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free. Just go to Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
O'Reilly.
Get more miles on the road with O'Reilly Auto Parts. A clean fuel system means better gas mileage for your car. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, get 2 bottles of Lucas Fuel Injector Cleaner for $8. Plus, earn double O Rewards points. For a clean, lubricated, more fuel-efficient system, stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
As first responders, we focus a lot on the physical demands of the job, but what about the mental demands? As a New Concord police chief, I know firsthand that it's not normal to see what we do, take it home, and deal with it on our own. That's why I encourage you to seek help if you need it. Visit the Ohio Department of Insurance's website, insurance.ohio.gov, or call 800-686-1526 to speak to experts who can help you understand what mental health benefits may be in your health plan.
If you've had a car accident, the first call should be to Blake Maisland.
That's right. With the sun going down a little earlier, with the leaves on the road, with the rain, it just lends itself to more injuries. You just have to remember, you only need one number, and that's the number 4. We are here for you 24 hours a day.
444-4444 or wantmore.com. Your organization will give you an absolute free evaluation.
And we work the case for you for free all the way through unless we win.
You have rooted yourself in Dayton.
Sure. Well, we all are in Dayton together. And when things happen, everybody needs to come together and everybody has something to offer. I'm lucky enough that I went through law school. Everyone in our own firm brings a talent and we make sure that whatever's necessary for your case to win it, that's what we do.
444-4444 or online at wantmore.com. Attorney Blake Maisland. He's there to help 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
It's grilling season, and you got the best beef brisket money can buy. Dry rubbed to perfection, slow smoked for 8 hours, and you dared to face that perfect smoky hickory wood flavor with subpar wood cooking pellets? Introducing Kingsford 100% hardwood pellets. No fillers or binders, just 100% hardwood for 100% flavor. Learn more at kingsford.com.
Let's just take that out of your mouth.
At Ping's Pre-K, the growing enrollment is no play date.
Toilet is not a closet.
She needs more teachers certified in early childhood development.
Is it nap time yet? Lunch?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. With Indeed Instant Match, we immediately show you quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed meet your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Vaccines are not enough, and accurate thermometers are essential for everyone. COVID is once again a major concern, and fever is the key symptom for both the flu and COVID. An accurate thermometer, like the Exergen temporal scanner, is essential to detect fevers early and reliably. Studies have shown that non-contact thermometers are ineffective and therefore dangerous, as they create a false sense of security. Exergen is working with a single focus to ensure that everyone who needs an accurate thermometer can purchase one. Learn more at Exergen.com.
Research shows that people remember radio ads with a booming voice that emphasizes all the main points. So to help you remember that Liberty Mutual Insurance Company customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
That part is super important.
Here's one with a booming voice.
I'm emphasizing everything.
Liberty Mutual customizes your home insurance.
Like a page with every word highlighted.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Get a king bed for a queen price at Mattress Firm and save up to $500 on top-rated brands like Sealy and Sleepy's.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Weekdays at 3 p.m. right here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
Thank you to ESPN's Adam Rittenberg, college football reporter, doing a good job coming on with us and keeping us updated on some of his thoughts heading into week 1 of the college football season. And so we asked him who he thought would be in the college football playoff. And he said, actually, it wasn't going to be a popular take as he does not have a Big Ten representative in the playoff this year. And it's just like I've been saying, we need to expand the playoff. The only people that want the expansion of the play, actually, it reminds me of this. So the fantasy football league that I'm in, so last year I took over a roster. It was a 5-player keeper league, and I took over what I thought was a bad roster. I ended up being pretty good and ended up making the playoffs, making some money off of it. But some people complained that, every year we'd have 1 or 2 guys at the bottom that'd back out because their rosters were bad and they didn't want to spend $50, $75 to remain in the league that they knew they were going to lose anyways. You're basically just giving your money away. So we changed it up to where now we're going to draft it. But the people with the good rosters didn't want to change. They wanted to keep it as the 5-player keeper. I was one. I was like, no, my roster's fine. Don't touch my roster. Leave me alone. And then the people that wanted to change the minimum player rule were the ones that had bad rosters who wanted a chance to rebuild the roster. That's how this is. Every team that's making the playoff regularly, their fan base is like, leave it at 4. We're fine. So if you're an Ohio State fan, you know your path to get there. You do. I mean, if you don't make it, it's not because the system's working against you. It's because you didn't do what you were supposed to. So all the teams that can't make the playoffs want the expansion of it. All the teams that are regular, contributors to the playoff, they're like, leave it alone. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, it ain't broke for you. It's broke for others. So I see how everyone's kind of working this type of thing. But nonetheless, it's going to be interesting to see what ends up happening. I mean, we're always confident. That's the thing. We are so locked in on Ohio State football, and we just assume that because it is the Ohio State University, that there's just going to be talent at every position. And that defense, I remember growing up, good solid offenses, but it was all about the defense. It was all about the linebackers. It was all about the secondary. The secondary is still the main point of emphasis, of course, along with the pass rush, but the linebackers have been non-existent for how long now?
They were solid in 19. Couple of
but solid. But I mean, like going back to the AJ Hawk days, like where those guys were just the killers, man. Like Ohio State hasn't had killer linebackers. Actually, they've been killing Ohio State, but they haven't had killer linebackers in quite some time.
Yeah, and that's something that needs to be fixed. I don't know if it's the scheme that they're running with the one high safety look. I could go on and on about that. Proctor, is he really a free safety or is he really a strong safety? Kind of somebody that should be in the box and everything like that. Can he cover the field? I know he wears Keith Byers' number 41, but he don't seem to run as fast as Keith Byers. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of small things that add up over time. And like you said, like being solid isn't what we want from Ohio State defense. We want the Silver Bullets defense. And last year was definitely not the Silver Bullets defense. So they just need to fix it. Whatever that fix is it playing younger guys and them getting their feet wet earlier in the season? So by the end of the season, they're flying around making plays, or is it playing veteran guys that know the system? I don't know. They know. They're the coaches. So whatever the issue is, they need to fix it now. Because I'm sick of seeing our defense give up 40 and 50 points. Like we gave up 50-something points to Alabama. That was uncalled for. That should have never happened. And I don't get me started. You see, you got me mad now. College football starting on Thursday with the Buckeyes. You got me bad mouthing my team. Go Bucks.
Hater.
I know. But like seriously though, like the guys on the defensive line, they're solid. Like Tariq Smith is solid. But we're not looking for solid. We're looking for stars. We're looking for playmakers. And, Zach Harrison, we quote unquote stole him from Michigan and everything like that. We kept him home and everything like that. And everybody was happy, right? Well, he was buying his time because he was a freshman. It was guys ahead of him like Chase Young and everything like that. Well, this is year 3. This is your junior year. You've been working with Larry Johnson for 3 years. It's time to make that impact. It's time to make that impact. It's time for those sacks. It's time for those sack fumbles, linebackers, Taraja Mitchell. It's time for plays. It's time for plays to be made. I know you made plays on special teams, which matter as well, but I need you to make plays during the game. Plays during the game. Sevyn Banks, let's catch some interceptions this year. Let's get some PBUs this year. Like, that's what I need from the Silver Bullet defense, because there's not a doubt in my mind that the offense is going to be scoring a lot of points. Silver Bullet defense, I need turnovers. Like, punts are great. I love 3 and outs. That's awesome. But I want to see my defense score some points too.
Yeah, and the thing is, a lot of times the Buckeyes defense, and this is what made Indiana so interesting to me last year, is because the Big Ten's not known for these high-powered offenses. That's why Alabama just put a pounding on him in the championship game. And this is why, Trevor Lawrence didn't have as much success against the Buckeye defense as he did the year before. People act like Ohio State just totally killed Trevor Lawrence the year before. Trevor Lawrence, didn't have a great passing game, but somehow his only 100-yard rushing performance of his entire career in college came against Ohio State's defense. So there's that as far as Trevor Lawrence, from the 2 playoff games ago or what have you. But in the Big Ten, an average defense, you can hide your average. I still think that everyone gives the Big Ten too much credit for being great defensive teams. I think a lot of it is propped up because you don't have a lot of dominant offensive teams either, which is why at times you'll see Ohio State going up. Oh man, they're going to go up against a top 10 defense this week. And then Ohio State puts 40 up on them. Like, well, they don't look like a top 10 defense. That's because they haven't played any top 10 offenses. And that's been Ohio State's case. Now, their defense is still better than most defenses in the Big Ten, but at the same time, we saw what happens when they go up against Indiana's quarterback, who's a playmaking quarterback. They got exposed. When they played Alabama, they got exposed. Trevor Lawrence still threw for a ton of yards against Ohio. I know that he didn't throw a lot of touchdowns against Ohio State, but I think he threw for like 300-plus yards against Ohio State's defense.
Kept him out the end zone. It was kind of like bend, don't break.
Yeah.
And that's why I always talk about I'm not like a stats guy, because
especially in college, I think stats in college are when you're talking about defenses and offenses. You want to talk about individual stats. I don't get too hyped about that, but that tells a story about the production of that player. But I hate when you look at a team out of the American Conference. So that's the number 1 defense in the country. Shut up. They are not the number 1 defense in the country. They have the best numbers in the country, but put that defense up against an Alabama or an Ohio State offense and watch all of a sudden how non-traditional defense they look. That's all. Anyways, I interrupted you because I get passionate about that stuff. Right?
Yeah, like I said, I'm not like a big stats guy, and you're right about, the number 1 rated defense in America and all that type of stuff, because everybody's not playing like schedules. Everybody's not playing the same opponents. And that's why I'm all about, especially on defense, making plays. Make plays. Make those PBUs on 3rd and 8. Get that interception. Get that sack fumble. Those splash plays, those are the plays that really matter, because in today's football, nobody's asking or expecting Ohio State to go out there and pitch a shutout, because in today's football, especially in college football, it's set up to score a lot of points. So if you told somebody that Ohio State was giving up 28 points a game back in 1995, they would lose their mind. They'd be like, what is wrong with the defense? We got to fix it. If I told you this year that Ohio State was giving up 21 points a game, you'd be like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about, because the game is totally different now. It's wide open. It's set up to score. And that's why I'm talking about plays, making plays, getting those interceptions. I mean, it's not that far removed from Malik Hooker having interceptions in the end zone versus Michigan. It's not far removed from Darren Lee making plays, causing fumbles, causing havoc across the middle. Chase Young was just at Ohio State getting sack fumbles against Wisconsin, diving over the top of the pile and things of that nature. So these days aren't that far removed. So that's why I scream about making plays, because that's what it's truly about. Get the ball back for your offense on their side of the field. Like, oh, we just got a sack fumble, and now the offense already at the 20. Another touchdown. Let's do it. Oh, we just got an interception. We're tackled at the 30. All right, let's go score another touchdown. So if we're scoring touchdowns off their turnovers and they eventually end up scoring 20-something points, but we've caused 2 or 3 turnovers already and our offense has been set up in prime position to score, that's what it's about for me. So stats, whatever. The numbers will tell you whatever story you want. But plays, you can't deny plays. You can't deny somebody getting a sack. You can't deny somebody getting a strip sack. You can't deny somebody getting an interception and taking it back to the house. Those are things that nobody can deny. So playmakers, silver bullets, that's what I need from the defense this year.
Yeah, and keep in mind, especially more so during teams like Minnesota, against teams, like most Big Ten, mainly because you're not going to force a ton of turnovers against an Alabama or a Clemson or those elite teams. And the same goes for the opposite. You're not going to create a ton of turnovers against Ohio State either. But when you're playing a Minnesota, when you're playing a Purdue, when you're playing even a Wisconsin at times, like those offenses aren't, high-powered offenses that you can't force you could force turnovers against those offenses. Those offenses are going to feel more pressure to try to make plays. They're going to try and play out of their element a little bit. They're going to force some things that they maybe wouldn't force against another Big Ten team because they feel like they have to take chances.
Yep.
And when Alabama plays Ohio State, those taking chances plays, they don't take chances. Those plays are just there because they're that good offensively. Same thing with Clemson and what have you. That's why I always say you're not going to stop in Alabama, but it's about situational stuff. You know, you're not going to shut them down, but it's about the situational stops. You can't give up a score every time down the field. You got to field management, those types of things. Managing the game is how you beat Alabama, how you beat Clemson, how you beat Ohio State. Turnovers are how you're going to make sure that you don't experience upsets like you did against Iowa and against Purdue. It didn't help against Iowa. J.T. Barrett, pick 6, very first passing play of the game. So not turning it over offensively is also key.
Yeah, that helps
as far
too.
As
that helps too. Shouts out to J.T. Barrett.
Yeah, there you go. Hey,
he'll come on the show because of me, not because of you.
We got Dickie on hold.
We do.
Dickie, how are you, my friend?
Hey, Justin, Kevin, how are you?
Good.
How are you? You sound extra happy today. I've never heard you
with this new. How you think the Buckeyes? They don't talk, but I heard they're only ranked 2nd or 3rd in the nation in the AP press.
What do you mean only? That means they're the 3rd best team in the country. I think they're ranked 4th.
No, I think they should be up there. I say they'd be number 2.
I mean, and that's fair. I don't think we know who any of these teams are right now. I think we know the traditional teams are really good. We know Clemson will be really good. We know Alabama will be really good, and we know Ohio State will be. But I think what's going to not really hurt, but what the big question with those teams is you're replacing Mac Jones, you're replacing Trevor Lawrence, you're replacing Justin Fields.
Yeah.
And which team is equipped to replace those great quarterbacks the most? That's what we're going to find out here in the early weeks.
I know something right now, though, the way I was, I had gone to this big M session. I got the tail end of some of the Browns, but I'm going to tell you something. They look pretty good, Justin and Kevin. They look pretty good this year.
That's your AFC North champions, baby. Of course they looked good. You say it like you're surprised.
I know. But you know what I'm a little disappointed in is this is September. We're going to go into September. Now the Reds have good. They've got the hitting. What is wrong with the bullpen? That's what makes me so mad.
The bullpen, they've been trying to figure that out just the way the Bengals have been trying to figure out their offensive line. Whichever one figures it out first will be the team that has more success, right? Like, my problem with the Reds right now is all of a sudden their bats are falling asleep. They've lost 3 straight. And I don't want to hear – I keep hearing fans make excuses, Dickie, that, well, it's a long season. You're going to have little rough spots. But you don't lose 3 straight heading into September when you're grasping onto a playoff spot.
I agree with you. And, if they mess up, it's going to be their own fault, isn't it?
I mean, right now, they're letting the Cardinals kind of back in this thing. The Cardinals were dead and buried, and all of a sudden you look up, and they're right there in the mix of things in the wild card. So the Reds, they should have taken more advantage of the time that the Padres were kind of slipping a bit. The Padres are about to catch fire again all of a sudden, and then all of a sudden the Reds are going to be just on the outside looking in. They got to get their stuff together. The Cardinals, though, all of a sudden 2.5 games back of the wild card.
Well, another thing, I like those chances, but I think they are all going to win at least 7 games this year under Burrow. What do you think?
Oh, the Bengals? Yeah, that's about right. I said in that 6 to 8 game range is where they would be. But it all just depends on that offensive line and how it holds up. I have never once said they don't have a good run game or good.
Does the defense look good, you think?
No.
That
defense it's the same as last year, just with new players in the spots that they lost good players from last. They had good players on a bad defense last year. They lost those good players and replaced them with more. I don't think they'll be better defensively.
Oh, hey, I wanted to tell you guys something. Guess what?
What?
I went to a tribute this. Kevin, you would have loved it. Justin, you would have too. It was a tribute to a guy that used to be, he played in a lot of the bands here, in Dayton, the country bands. And he used to come over with his little uke, and we play out at Lowe's. And they had a tribute to him over here at the VFW in Kettering. Hey, Justin, hey, Kevin, I stayed from 10 o'clock to 9 that night and jammed.
No kidding. Did you play, or did you just there checking it out?
Let people get up there and play, but I know one thing right now. I'm better off sitting down because I cannot stand up and play fast songs. It's just the guitar is so big for you. But I loved it. People knew me. They knew the band, but yeah, and the other little group we've been jamming a lot too. I've learned the ukulele.
Wow. No kidding.
Yeah.
I can't play an instrument. I can't even beat my pen on the table to the rhythm of a song I'm listening to, Dickie. So I'm glad you have some rhythm, man. But hey, Dickie, we're out of time.
Hey, always a pleasure.
Same for us, man. You take care.
I'll be. Hey, say hello to Jimmy, Doug, and Tony Grossi, okay?
I'll tell them you said hello. They always look forward to that.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, that was Dickie. Never heard him in a bad mood. The. You'll like this. It's not where I thought it was going to go, so that's interesting. All right, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. I want to get into this. Brooksy. Brooksy equals horns down. What are you talking about, Kinner? Well, you should be used to questioning what the hell I'm talking about. Half the time, I don't know what I'm talking about. Brooksy equals horns down. Next.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
King Crimson, live. The Music is Our Friend Tour. September 2nd at Rose Music Center at the Heights. With special guests, the Zappa Band. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com and the Rose Music Center box office. Two legendary bands at the height of their power. King Crimson, together with the Zappa Band.
Staples Connect has everything for school at amazing prices. Right now, Staples one-subject notebooks are only 25 cents each, and Crayola 24-count crayons, 2-pocket poly folders, and 4-ounce Elmer's glue are just 50 cents each. So your student won't just be ready for school. There'll be tons of drawings to hang on the fridge ready.
We're going to need a bigger refrigerator.
Visit your local Staples store or staples.com/back-to-school and get amazing prices for everything on your back-to-school list. Ends 9/18, limit 30, notebooks in store only. Offer may vary online.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company presents and Doug.
And we're back with Limu, Emu, and Doug for the final question. Category is things you climb. All right, Limu, what do you think? You sure? We're going with Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need. Oh, so close. We were looking for stairs. Huh. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty. Now at Menards, save big money in your next project with 11% off everything. Enjoy the fresh air with a new Larson Storm Door with over 400 styles that will match your home and features like a screen-away retractable screen. Larson Storm Doors are all 11% off. Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Good through September 6th. Savings are meal and rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Many Vietnam War veterans were unknowingly exposed to dangerous chemicals impacting their health and quality of life. There are now expanded benefits for veterans exposed to Agent Orange. Veterans with Parkinsonism, bladder cancer, or hypothyroidism who previously applied for VA disability compensation but were denied should reapply and might be eligible for retroactive compensation. Exposed veterans who have not yet applied should consider filing a new claim. For assistance, call Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission at 937-225-4801.
Sunday! It's the savings event of the season. Progressive's Home and Auto Bundle Extravafesta Save-a-thon. Your chance to save big by bundling your home and auto insurance. But only this Sunday. Unless you're busy, in which case you can bundle Tuesday. Or if you already have dinner plans, then try Friday. But if the week gets away from you, you can just wait till next Sunday. Because Progressive's Home and Auto Bundle Extravafesta Save-a-thon isn't going anywhere.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Discounts not available in most states or situations.
In here, there are seasonal savings throughout the Home Depot, so you can get back out there for more doing. In here, it's a Weber Spirit Grill. Out there, it's the dinner bell for your next neighborhood cookout. In here, it's a gallon of exclusive Bear Scuff Defense paint and a Lillard White vanity. Out there, it's a rejuvenated guest bath ready for guests. Get back for more doing with store-wide savings for house-wide doing. Only at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
As much as we say we love nature, when it comes to bugs, not so much. When it comes to trees, the Ohio chapter of the International Society of Arboriculture wants you to know that most insects are not harmful to trees, especially if their populations are small. There are exceptions to that, but don't forget, every insect has a predator that's just looking to make it a meal. So sometimes it's just good to let nature take care of itself. If you're concerned about insects in your trees, find an ISA certified arborist near you at treesforohio.org. That's trees4ohio.org.
Get a king bed for a queen price at Mattress Firm and save up to $500 on top-rated brands like Sealy and Sleepy's.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kinner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash back with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. So our Glacier Softwater High School football game of the week this week, we'll have Fairmont once again as they welcome in CJ. I love the start to the season for Fairmont. I love the fact that they beat Alter, and I love the fact that they beat Trotwood, and they're looking to keep it going because their schedule's tough. They still have Wayne. They still have Centerville. They still have a ton of really tough teams remaining on their schedule. It does not get any easier. And it gets even tougher with CJ coming to town this Friday night. We were supposed to have Trotwood in Springfield. Unfortunately for Springfield, Kev, another game canceled for them. Like they, took care of business in week 1 against St. Ignatius out of Cleveland.
Right.
And their week 2 game got canceled because of COVID, and now week 3 has been canceled because of COVID. Now, they still could end up playing, but as of right now, and maybe it's been announced and I just haven't come across it, but I have not come across an announcement yet. So
they're already up against it. Don't they have to have a minimum of 8 games played to be eligible for the playoffs?
They moved that, so they moved that to 5.
Okay.
Which that's why we talked about the other day. I wish that they would just eliminate it altogether. I don't think there needs to be a point system this year to make the playoffs. I do not believe that there should be a minimum amount of games to make the playoffs. I believe every team should make the playoffs this year, just like last year. I don't know. I mean, look, vaccines are out. And COVID still seems to be getting worse. So at this point, it's one of those where we can't keep approaching these seasons as if this doesn't exist, even with the vaccines, even with high schoolers not being mandated to get it or anything. And I'm not saying that should be the case. All I'm saying is as long as it's, as long as everyone, there's going to be some vax, some not, this virus will always be there. I hate that I always have to do this. It ticks me off because people tick me off. I hate that I always have to be nervous to say the word COVID. I hate that I have to be nervous to say the damn word vaccine because some of you out there have to be idiots and have to start yelling at the radio right away and tweeting at me, yelling at me right away. We're not talking about our opinions on COVID. I'm simply stating that as long as COVID is out there, there's always going to be games that are canceled. There's always going to be games that are impacted. So until we get to the point to where it is not the case, I think every team needs to make the playoff. I think it's silly to have a playoff point system and a minimum game requirement when some teams might play 8, some teams might play 5, some teams will be lucky enough to get 10, some teams will play 10, Kev, and then they'll get to the playoff and their game will be canceled that week because of COVID. So it's like, there's just no rhyme or reason to this. Let everybody get in like last year, and let's just count the losses before it gets out of hand. I think the longer you go without making that a thing, you're just making it more difficult and going to, disappoint more people down the road. Let everybody get in.
Vax talk
alone. Yeah, exactly. So, is what there he goes, pushing his agenda again. I got a voicemail left for me the other day. Getting real tired of you pushing your agenda. I was like, I'm not smart enough to have an agenda. I don't even know what I flip-flop on topics every single day. I don't even know what my agenda is. If I have an agenda, I would love for people to tell me what my agenda is so that I could be more up to date on what my agenda is. So there you go. All right. Well, look at that. We're out of time. Hour 2 in the books. Hour 3 coming up. We could finally get to this golf conversation. Plus, rosters, the deadline has come and gone. Rosters have been cut to 53. Paul Dehner Jr. covers the Bengals. He tweeted out a little bit ago the Bengals' current 53-man roster as well as all of their cuts. And we'll take a look at the depth chart for the Cincinnati Bengals. So that's all coming up. We'll talk that. We'll talk golf. Golf doing their best, Big 12 impersonation. Horns down. We made fun of that, right? I'm about to make fun of golf, too. We'll be back in a moment. Agenda.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Staples Connect has everything for school at amazing prices. Right now, Staples one-subject notebooks are only 25 cents each, and Crayola 24-count crayons, 2-pocket polyfolders, and 4-ounce Elmer's glue are just 50 cents each. So your student won't just be ready for school. There'll be tons of drawings to hang on the fridge ready.
We're going to need a bigger refrigerator.
Visit your local Staples store or staples.com/back-to-school and get amazing prices for everything on your back-to-school list. Ends 9/18, limit 30, notebooks in store only. Offer may vary.
Summer is winding down, and Rob's Beer Barn is preparing for all of your favorite fall beers and other seasonal refreshments. Rob's Beer Barn has you covered for all your gatherings. You can find all the ice-cold refreshments you'll need: craft, imported, local, and seasonal beers, fine wines, snacks and ice, and Rob's Beer Barn apparel. Rob's has it all. And for last-minute items, you can call, walk in, or drive through. Stop in and visit Rob's and stock up today. Rob's Beer Barn on Indian Ripple Road at Darce, just a mile east of the green. Rob's Beer Barn. Just look for the Beaver.
If you are push mowing your yard using an inefficient lawn tractor, or your current zero-turn spends more time in the shop than mowing your grass, it's time you look at the Hustler Zero-Turn Lawnmower. Residential mowers from Hustler are built like tanks and drive like sports cars. All Hustler mowers have fabricated welded steel decks. Don't settle on cheap units with flimsy stamped decks from big box stores. See Small Engine Service Pros, and we'll guide you to the right mower for your property and your budget. 2030 North Dayton Lakeview Road, Route 235 in New Carlisle.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzz driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely, like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says I'm a catch more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The Reds are on the radio.
Every hit, every strikeout, every Reds victory. You can catch all of the action all season long right here on Dayton's home of the Reds, 1410 ESPN Radio. College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Byers Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio. WING 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio. We're live. We're local.
What are you gonna miss? He struck him up.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash back with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. So game 2 tonight between the Reds and Cardinals. I'm just getting word now from the organization that tonight's Reds and Cardinals game has been postponed due to rain and rescheduled as a split doubleheader tomorrow. There'll be two separate games tomorrow. So game 1 will be the rescheduled game at 1:10. So 12:40 will be the pregame tomorrow. And then game 2 will be at 6:40. So just like that, Kevin and I got the day off. So there you go.
Define off.
Well, just not doing the show. Just not doing the show. So there's that. So Reds doubleheader tomorrow. Game 1 at 1:10 p.m. and game 2 at 6:40 p.m. So there's that. Interesting. Reds have lost 3 straight. They got to get their stuff together. Like, we just keep acting like, that the Padres are going to keep losing and that the Reds are going to keep winning and that the Cardinals and nobody else was going to come creeping up. It's a playoff chase for a reason. And I'm tired of people giving David Bell and the Reds the benefit of the doubt, saying, well, they've had such a great year that even if they miss it, it's still been a fun season. And that's such a loser approach to have, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to give you credit for playing good baseball in May and June and July, because August and September, that's the crunch time. That's when you got to show up. Those are the months that actually, October matters, but you can't worry about October unless you do what you're supposed to in May and so forth. So no, I'm not going to give David Bell credit for getting it. If you can't say that, David Bell, he's good enough to win you games to this point, but he's not good enough to win you games after that point. No, if you got this far, finish the race. But they're holding on to that playoff spot. They should have created. Right now, for the Reds to have lost 3 straight, all while the Padres have lost 3 of their last 10, or they've lost 7 of their last 10, the Reds should have jumped on this opportunity. There should be a 3 to 4 or 5 game gap between them and the Padres right now. Not saying that you're smooth sailing from there, but at least you give yourself a little bit of a margin for error. But all I see is Reds fans talking about how the Padres are playing bad. The Padres are playing bad, all while the Reds have lost 3 straight. I wish you would hold your team to the same standard that you hold all the other teams around the Reds. It doesn't make any. When those teams lose, it's because they suck. But when your team loses, it's, you're not going to win them all. I get it. I'm not being a troll. I'm not being a hater. The bottom line is that I have high expectations for my team. If that makes me a troll, then that makes you weird. So there you go. The fact that I expect more out of my team than you do, don't come at me with that nonsense. Don't call me a hater for that. I expect my team to win. That makes me a hater. No, that's not the case at all. The Reds, tomorrow's a big doubleheader. It's a big doubleheader between the Reds and Cards. But to lose 3 straight right now, and again, you got to think, they just dropped a series to the Marlins. They just dropped a series to the Cubs. Like that you can't. It's not that you're losing to good teams. All I've been hearing about is how they have the second easiest schedule down the stretch. But the bottom line is you can't lose to an embarrassing Cubs team. You can't lose to a last place Marlins team. And then a Cardinals team that's not very good. You lost game 1, and that's why tomorrow sets up a very important day. I don't want to hear none of this split stuff. A split tomorrow means you lost the series. Take games 2 and 3 tomorrow. Because by going to 2 7-inning doubleheader games, now you've eliminated the extended use of the bullpen. You got to get 2 good quality starts from your starters tomorrow night. David Bell has a habit of playing a weaker lineup in game 2. No. It's September tomorrow, Kev. Mm-hmm. You don't need to rest Joey Votto. They're resting today. They could play 14-inning doubleheader tomorrow. They could do it. There is no resting, no off days. You don't need no rest day. If you give guys off days today, then all you're doing is giving them rest so that they're well rested for all the off days they're going to get in October. Give me a break. Now's the time you start putting the foot to the pedal, and let's go and let's increase this urgency and this intensity moving forward. Let's talk golf, shall we?
Sure.
Let's talk a little golf. So I found this interesting. So a couple of weeks ago, maybe it was more than that, maybe it was a couple months ago, the Big 12, it was more than a month ago, because this news had come out before all the news of Texas leaving the Big 12 along with Oklahoma. But Texas, they got the little feelings hurt, the little horns down thing. It'll be a penalty if you do horns down to the players in any kind of taunting way. It's no different than when anyone that plays Ohio State, if they get a first down or a touchdown, they'll look at the coaches or the players and they'll do the OH and they'll kind of give it back to them a bit. If you're going to be that obnoxious program that has those little chants and that has the little hand signals and stuff, you got to be a big boy enough to know that that's going to come back at you whenever another team has success against you. And I don't have a problem with that, Kev. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's if they're doing that should flatter you. The fact that they're using your own gesture against you, that means that you're in their head enough that they're like that they've acknowledged that you have even a gesture, that you have a signal or whatever you want to call it. I find that funny. So now it's a penalty if you do the horns down to Texas and yada yada. I think that's weak.
Surprised the Big 12 haven't overturned that since they're bouncing from the conference.
Yeah, I was gonna say. In fact, it's bonus points.
Yeah, first down.
Yeah,
if you do it.
First down. Yeah, exactly. 2 yard. 2 yards forward on the original spot of the ball. I'm telling you right now. So very similar situation here. Does that include planting a flag? Well, Shaw, that joke would make sense if the planting of the flag was in the middle of the game. That was after taking care of business against Ohio State. Come on, Shaw, you've got this far in the show without annoying me. Don't start it now at 5:06. It's 5:06, and look at in Shaw's try. Does that include planting a flag? I have no problem with it. Horns down all you want. So the PGA, Kev, they're banning fans for the Brooksy taunts in wake of Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka drama. First of all, golf is getting in the way of the most interesting storyline since Tiger, got caught cheating years and years ago. This is the most interesting storyline about golf is the rivalry between Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau. And PGA and golf is trying to get in the way of this. I'm not saying that you fan the flame and that you let a brawl break out or anything like that. But this is the most interesting golf has been since anything that does not involve Tiger Woods. Build around this, brand it. I'm not saying that you should, flame the, that you should fan the flame of the tension between the two. But let's be clear that I have no problem with all the stuff that's kind of coming out of this rivalry right here. So it says that an updated fan conduct policy could see spectators ejected from PGA Tour events for disrespectful behavior. Now, what does that disrespectful behavior include, Kev? Now, keep in mind, if you go to, if Florida comes to the shoe and Ohio State scores the touchdown, yep, we're going to, when I go back and cut this clip right here, it's going to be really funny, by the way. Ohio State fans will do the Gator chomp, right? Like, when Texas, you do the horns down. Like, that's what you do. It is what it is. That's part of it. And fans are going to be, so would you eject an away fan for doing the Florida Gator chomp? If, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So that's what they're doing here. So, including shouts of Brooksy that have gained considerable attention recently because of an ongoing spat between Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka. Now, this is according to Commissioner Jay Mahanahan. Hopefully, I'm saying his name right. Says fans who breach our code of conduct. By the way, a nickname saying Brooksy. This is the new fan. This is the code of conduct that golf is implementing here. Fans who breach our code of conduct are subject to expulsion. Why does everything have to be worded so uppity? It's golf. It's golf. That's why. Fans who breach our code of conduct are subject to expulsion from the tournament and loss of their credential or ticket. No fun. We want to rip the NFL for their little no fun league policy from a few weeks ago. People need to be jumping all over golf because, again, the most interesting thing about golf is this rivalry between Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka, and they're taking it and pushing fans away. Fans are coming engaged now. You're going to a PGA event and you're engaged. You're looking for something. There's a recognizable star out there that you want to be involved with, and they're going to sit there and kick them out. Doesn't make any sense. What do you think of all of this too right now? And again, we're not talking about in the middle of his backswing screen.
That's exactly what my question was going to be.
This is at any point.
If they were doing it as he's on the tee or putting or whatever on the green, yada, 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 actually golfing, yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, I will be cool with kicking fans out for that. But if he's walking from the second hole to the third hole and, they're giving him a little taste of some jeering and everything like that, I'm cool with it. Because that's part of sports. Part of sports is dealing with the crowd. And in so long, golf has not had a crowd to deal with. It's all been, at least to my knowledge, it's all been, all right, quiet. Here's a backswing. And then now golfers have to deal with people taking pictures in their swing, which they shouldn't be having to deal with. That shouldn't be happening. But on the way to a different hole, yeah, you should have to deal with that. Have more of your fans come out. And like you said, this is good for golf. it gets the interest of the casual fan or myself that who's not a fan of golf at all. Like I get, they got a little beef. Let's see what happens. Oh, they're going to match those two guys up in the Masters. Let's see what type of tension is out there. Let's see how the crowd reacts to this and everything like that. So this is, I try to always look at things from a positive standpoint and see how this can turn into something that it can get the casual viewer in or get more eyeballs on the TV screen. This can get more eyeballs on the TV screen. As far as the fans are concerned, no, you can't do that when they're swinging. That's uncalled for because this is the gentleman's sport or whatever, golf. Fine. You want to pull that card? Fine. But if you're on the way to a hole or you're walking back into the clubhouse, it's all game on, man. It's game on.
And again, we're not saying you can yell curse words. Or call names. Like
just like yesterday, we was talking about with baseball. Booing and thumbs down. You suck. Hey, man, that's all game for fans. Fans pay a lot of money to go to these events. So if they want to express themselves in a quote unquote fashionable way, as long as they ain't talking about your wife and kids, then it's on. But I know how golf is. Golf isn't, they try not to be that sport. They try not to be baseball or basketball or football. They want to present themselves as, like you said, kind of like a uppity type of sport and everything like that.
And that's why it sucks.
Tennis players deal with this. And tennis is just as uppity as that. Rugby. Every sport out there deals with jeering fans, except for golf. Every sport out there. Every single sport has fans that boo the other team or the opponent, except for golf. I have no problem with it. As long as you ain't doing it during that swing, hey, man, have at it. Have at it.
Yep, and all the and there's your country club type people that are defending this, saying absolutely there's no place in the sport for that. But can you believe that Francisco Lindor is telling the fans that they're wrong for booing him? I mean, he's such a disgrace to baseball. But Bryson DeChambeau, he has every right in the world to not be called Brooks. Give me Brooks Koepka. I mean, you give me a break. This is the dumbest thing, and this is the worst attempt at two people trying to mock how golf people talk. But there you go. There you go. Like
you golf. You golf. I don't golf.
Trust me, I am every golfer's worst nightmare. Like every time I go to a place, I'm like, oh, they're going to hate me. This course will be in worse shape after I'm done than when I got there. Like I'm telling you right now.
So how distracting is it for somebody to scream something as you're swinging?
I mean, it shouldn't be any different. I mean, do I prefer to when I'm with the group, golfing? I just golfed over the weekend. Everyone. They quiet down. They stop talking. I get told all the time because I'm a talker. I have my arms red by the time I'm done golfing because my buddies, if we're going to force them or whatever, they'll hit my arm. Hey, he's up. Hey, shut up. He's about to hit. It's what you do. But at the same time, if I could shoot a free throw with crowds yelling at me, if I can kick a field goal with the crowd yelling, I mean, the Centerville kid, the Corville kid that just hit 2 46-yard field goals in the game, including the game winner with fans yelling. If a 17-year-old kid can kick a game-winning freaking field goal with guys running at him to hit him, if he can concentrate enough to do that, if Mr. Corville at Centerville can do that with noise, with guys trying to tackle him, with guys trying to hit him, with guys trying to block it, if he could do that, then little Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau, they can hit a golf ball with people talking between swings. Give me a break. I love golf. I am absolutely in love with the sport. It's of all the things I suck at, it's the most expensive. Okay. But they're their worst own enemy. I'm so sick and tired of hearing about how baseball needs to get with the times, but we sit here and the same people that say that are also the ones defending this when it comes to golf. It's an absolute joke. So
bowlers deal with the same thing. Bowlers deal with crowds, but they don't do it as they're approaching the lanes or whatever. But between rolls or whatever, they get a little something from the crowd. And that's what you would get. I'm not going to sit here and act like I've seen this because you bringing this up. I'm reading the article as you're telling me as well. So I'm going to jump on YouTube and see what this is. I'm going to see what the crowd is doing. I imagine they're not throwing things at him, right? I would imagine nobody's threatening his life. I would just imagine they're doing the Brooksy. I just don't see a big deal with it. I just don't.
By the way, this is a branding opportunity right here. This is huge. Brooksy t-shirts, Brooksy, whatever. Put it on a keychain, put it on a magnet, put it on a t-shirt, put it on a koozie. Everyone loves beer koozies. Put it on a beer koozie. Put it on a pen. Put it wherever. What, did I say something?
No, you know who I'm thinking about.
Oh gosh. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Yeah, give me a break. Golf. All right, folks, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. But yeah, by the way, my favorite movie of all time, gosh, that's a very exaggerated way to put that, but one of my favorite comedy movies of all time is Happy Gilmore. And Happy Gilmore, that was an entire movie of nothing but mocking the approach to golf to begin with. I mean, the whole thing was he wasn't your typical golfer. Baggy jeans, the long hockey shirt, everyone's all in suit and ties, and there he is. He's asking the crowd to cheer. He's asking the crowd for a little noise. He's everything that golf isn't, and that's why he became so popular in that movie, right? Like, the whole premise of it. I'm not saying you need a Happy Gilmore type crazy dude to kind of get your sport there, but like, you can't sit there and push off anything that's going to make your sport relevant, because it's one thing for me to say I love golf to go golf, but I can't watch golf. But you know what? For the first time, I have a storyline that was going to make me want to tune in to see how these two coexist together. I'm intrigued by that, and now golf is being typical boring golf. We're going to have none of that. No. Like the Mets situation, I'm tuning into the Mets home game to find out, is the crowd going to boo their own players after hearing what he had to say? I'm intrigued by that. I'm running to the television to find that. The television, what am I, 80? Anyways, we'll be back. Set your DVRs and your video tapes and record it and yada, yada. We'll be back in a moment.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mostly cloudy with showers and possibly a thunderstorm, a high near 80. Tonight will be mostly cloudy, also with showers and possibly a thunderstorm, a low around 63. And tomorrow will be mainly clear, a high near 80. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Many Vietnam War veterans were unknowingly exposed to dangerous chemicals impacting their health and quality of life. There are now expanded benefits for veterans exposed to Agent Orange. Veterans with Parkinsonism, bladder cancer, or hypothyroidism who previously applied for VA disability compensation but were denied should reapply and might be eligible for retroactive compensation. Exposed veterans who have not yet applied should consider filing a new claim. For assistance, call Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission at 937-225-4801.
Hey, welcome to Everything Outdoors. Can I help you find anything?
Hey, yeah. Can you point us to the camping gear?
Sure, aisle 2.
Snowboarding? Just bought a new Nissan Pathfinder. It's got intelligent 4x4, and we want to hit the backcountry.
Aisle 18.
And the boats?
Are you sure you can do all this?
Up to 6,000 pounds towing, we're good to go. Oh, where's the scuba gear?
Return to rugged in the all-new 2022 Nissan Pathfinder. Available intelligent 4x4 cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions. Towing capability varies by configuration. See Nissan Owner's Manual for proper use.
When you have trouble sleeping, it's tough. When kids have trouble sleeping,
Mom, I can't sleep. Dad, just one more story?
for nights like this, try Vicks Pure Z's Kids. Our great tasting gummies are specially formulated for kids with a unique blend of botanicals and a low dose of melatonin to support their natural sleep cycle. Best of all, they're drug-free and non-habit forming. Help your child fall asleep naturally with Pure Z's Kids Gummies. Consult with a doctor before use. For ages 4 and up.
5G is here, but the big carriers want you to sign a pricey long-term contract to get access. Well, not anymore, because Straight Talk Wireless has rolled out 5G coverage nationwide, with plans starting at just $35 a month and no contract. Plus, get a Samsung Galaxy A32 5G for $299, all on America's best networks. 5G coverage, 5G phones, less money. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. 5G capable device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
Hello, everyone. It's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is, fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. I'm a private real estate investor who can solve your real estate problems fast for cash. Do you want to sell and just be done with it? Okay, great. I buy vacant properties, boarded up houses, free foreclosures and inherited properties. I also buy apartment buildings, rental portfolios, divorce homes. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. I look forward to solving your real estate problems today. Call me today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
In the Army National Guard, soldiers serve part-time and close to home.
My community means everything to me. It helped shape me into who I am today, and is where I choose to raise my own family. That's why I joined the Army National Guard. I'm proud of where I'm from, and as a soldier, I get to give back to the people that helped me succeed. The education benefits I got from serving helped me get my degree and jumpstart my career. The training and leadership skills I've gained from the Army National Guard help me every day when I teach young people, help my neighbors, and look out for my community. I know that when my neighbors need us the most, my fellow soldiers and I will be ready. My family loves it here, and my part-time service means we get to stay here.
Serve part-time in the community you live in as a proud member of the Army National Guard. Talk to your local recruiter or visit nationalguard.com. Sponsored by the Ohio Army National Guard. Aired by the Ohio Association of Broadcasters and this station.
We're planning a trip to Spain later this year.
But our Spanish
is pretty bad. So we're using Babbel.
Babbel's conversation-based method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babbel's interactive, bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you learned.
There's no easier way to learn another language.
Ahora hablamos español.
He just said, now we speak Spanish.
Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free. Just go to Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
Ad paid for by CompleteCar.com.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to the COVID crisis, we are announcing a low-cost extended service plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay nothing for auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay nothing for auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-549-1985 now. Drivers who are covered by this auto protection will not have to pay for a covered repair bill again. This auto coverage is at an all-time low, much lower than what dealerships are charging. Additionally, drivers who activate this auto coverage today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and free rental car at no additional cost. Call for your free quick quote today. 800-549-1985. 800-549-1985. What do you have to lose? Again, 800-549-1985.
Forecast? Quality candidates ahead. Indeed skills tests help you find the right hire faster. Screen for skills your job requires. Hiring becomes a breeze. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Want free Reds tickets? How about a free MLB Network Reds bag? Maybe a Reds bobblehead? Here's an idea. How about we combine them all together and give you a chance to win a free WING Reds prize pack presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. Register daily at wingam.com. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER and ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
Justin Kinner, Kevin Nash back with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Some guy on Facebook, that's his name, some guy. What's up, some guy? Some guy says less and less boomers are around every day to watch golf in its current state. The PGA would be wise to do some things aimed towards the younger crowd. Use celebrity commentators like Snoop Dogg and why not Sandler himself. You know, that's way too progressive, even for that's way too progressive for golf. But you know, it doesn't have to mean use them for every single, but I think that you get a little of that taste with, I think golf is way out of its element with the match or whatever they call it when they do the Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and they, or what have you, whatever they did. I think those things are kind of cool. They did Tom Brady or they did Tiger Woods and Mickelson or whatever.
Those ratings were great, right?
Yeah. No, they're through the roof like that. You need more of that stuff, but those are good. Like, it's kind of like these exhibition boxing matches that everyone keeps saying is horrible for the sport. the reason I think that they're horrible for the sport of boxing is because the fact that more people will tune in to watch two celebrities go at it, like the Paul brothers or whoever, that you'd rather watch them than the actual real boxers that train every single day to do this. Like, that hurts the sport because it's a reminder of, like, when Mike Tyson comes back and the ratings are through the roof, and like, that's a constant reminder of what's wrong with boxing, is that there's no Mike Tysons that people care about in today's boxing. When you look at the match, like, it doesn't hurt golf because at least it gets eyes on the product. And, like, you know, you don't watch boxing because you don't recognize anyone there. People think they don't watch golf because they think it's boring. Well, when you tune in to watch the match, you kind of like how it looks. It's more aesthetically pleasing than you think. I think more eyes would be on golf if you had more featured programming like that would get eyes on it. And I'm not saying you turn this into a WWE DeChambeau versus Koepka type thing, but they need to really be finding a way to kind of build off this more televised events with the two going at one another, something. But I'm just not a fan of choking.
We love celebrities. We love celebrity culture. We have shows on TV that follow these celebrities around with TV, and there's ratings off the hook. MTV brought back MTV Cribs. You know what I'm saying? So there's a camera in some rich person's house, and we watch them. You know, this is my 50,000 square foot house, and this is my big closet with all my shoes, and this is my bathroom, and this is where my dog sleep. He has a sheepskin bed. Like, people love celebrities. People love watching what celebrities do. And
you know what I'd love to do? Do poor people cribs. I would love to see poor people cribs. Like, we haven't paid our electric bill in 3 weeks, but we ran an extension cord from our neighbor's house, and look, we don't even have to pay for our electric. Like, that's the kind of stuff I'd be interested in. Like, you know, I don't know. But no, I'm with, yeah, exactly. I mean, they brought back the Jersey freaking Shore. Yeah. And I'm not going to lie to you. I find myself watching it at times. And I'm so disappointed every time. I'm like, this show used to be like semi-interesting. Now I'm watching Snooki show 5 different ways to change a baby's diaper. I'm like, this is stupid as hell. I'm moving on from this. Like, But
we love celebrities, man. Unfortunately, that's the culture that we are in, man. We have reality TV, and those shows cost about a nickel to make. And they get ratings through the roof, and we watch it nonstop. Like, they'll have reality shows, marathons on, and you just sit there and veg out. Like, why am I watching this? And you question yourself while you're watching it, but you keep watching it. And that's the same thing with the celebrity boxing and these celebrity golf matches. We're not necessarily watching for the actual sport. We're watching a celebrity do the sport. Like, I remember back in the day, Rock and Jock on MTV. Like, we're watching the celebrities, these actors and singers play basketball. You'd rather watch them play basketball than watch LeBron James play basketball? Are you serious? Like, it baffles me. But I'm as guilty as them because I watch it too.
Yeah, and again, for those of you wondering what led to this conversation, the PGA might ban fans for Brooksy taunts in wake of Bryson DeChambeau Brooks Koepka drama. Shaw chimes in. I think the only reason it was brought up was because of the Ryder Cup. I don't care why it was brought up. I mean, the bottom line is that the approach to this is Brooksy. Like, that's what the PGA is losing their mind at, Brooksy. Not racial slurs, not personal jabs at someone's family, Brooksy. That's where the PGA draws the line on what they like. Fans will be tossed if they say Brooksy. So, that's the weirdest thing.
So I'm not versed in this, so help me out. The Ryder Cup, isn't that like nations versus nations, right? Mm-hmm. But the PGA is just like, you know, the big one, the one that everybody plays in. So
the Ryder's not a PGA event.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So what does that have to do with anything? What
I'm saying too. I don't think
I'm not sure. I'm not trying to be a smart aleck, but I'm trying to understand, like, did they actually throw hands or something?
That would be great.
I wouldn't go that far, but like, I'm not understanding like the whole fuss about it. I'm truly not. And maybe it's just because I'm not a golfer and I don't come from a golfing background or don't understand golf like that.
You're not a crybaby. That's what it is.
Maybe it's just because the sports that I watch, that's part of it. Basketball, football.
Yes, we know. He says Brooks and DeChambeau are supposed to be teammates. Super. Again, what does that have to do with anything? I don't understand what that has.
Michael Jordan punched Steve Kerr in the face to win the championship.
Yeah. I mean, Deontay West. Well, you.
Caller on line 2. We're not going there. We're not going there.
I just said his name.
What? We are not going there.
What?
We are not.
When's
going
Father's
there.
Day?
This guy,
Steve from Vandalia. Welcome in 518-1410. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you guys?
Good.
Thanks for having me. I was listening to this. Is the whole Brooks Koepka thing. He's posing after he makes putts. He's doing the things, trying to get people to cheer for him.
Hey, real quick, Steve, let me ask you, who's the popular, if in WWE terms here, who's the baby face, who's the heel amongst fans? Because both those two names are very popular, but who's the majority of fans siding with? DeChambeau?
I would say DeChambeau's the heel.
Okay.
Yeah.
And real quick.
He kills the ball. He hits it way further than everybody else.
How old is Brooks Koepka?
You're a golfer. You hate the guy that hits it 30 yards past you.
How old is Brooks Koepka?
Early 30s, mid 30s, maybe.
Makes sense. Why?
Maybe 31.
So Shaw says Bryson's the heel. I don't know, but Shaw, you're the heel. Let's just put it there. So that's why you. But Steve. So you were calling into you said tennis as an example as well when you talked to Kev before.
Yeah. So they're all quiet while they serve, and then they start cheering and they do throw people out for taunting the other players, and doing different stuff. So that's kind of similar.
Yeah, nothing I hate more than fans having fun.
Well, that's just it. And I think fans ought to be able to be fans, right?
There's always a line. Yeah, there always needs to be a line drawn in the sand.
I don't think Brooksy crosses the line at all.
Yeah, Stevie, does that bother you, Steve? Stevie? I just don't get it. I don't get it. But again, we're at least talking about it. But
I did want to make one other point, though, about the golf tournament.
Yep.
Is that I thought the course, the only thing it lacked was a windmill and a clown where they had to putt through the mouth to make one of the holes or something.
You're going to die, clown.
27 under is a joke, man.
Are you a golfer, I take it?
27 under, yeah.
There you go.
I play.
So I take it you don't drive as far as Bryson then?
No, I do not.
Well, we have something in common then.
There, 240.
I can't even hit my driver. The last time I went out over the weekend, I threw my driver out. I said, I'm not using it. I use my 7 and that's it. I'm not a good golfer. Right. I just use my, I just need to hit it straight.
I'm the worst golfer that plays 3 times a week. I am. I'm the world's worst golfer that plays 3 times a week.
Like I say, of all the things I suck at, golf is the most expensive. So there you go. So,
all right. Thanks, guys. Take my call.
Anytime, Steve. Take care.
Steve.
All right, 518-1410. Good stuff there. Brooks is 31, Bryson's 27.
I think the ages of these guys are important because, you talk about someone that's early 30s and late 20s, you are inviting a different type of viewer. You're not talking about Tiger Woods, who's in his mid 40s and everything like that. You're inviting in guys that, let's be real, man, these dudes were just in college. They were just these rowdy guys in college doing college kid things. So you are inviting that when you have young guys on your course. So you're going to get a different element out there. You're not going to always be the fuddy-duddy sport.
Well, I have a fuddy-duddy quote right here. Are you ready for this? This is, and again, it goes to Jay Monahan, the commissioner of the PGA. Says, the barometer that we need like that little fancy schmancy music in the background. We got to work on that. The fancy schmancy. There you go. The barometer that we are all using is the word respect. And to me, when you hear Brooksy yelled, or you hear any expression yelled, the question is that respectful or disrespectful? This dude actually said this. I mean, he's as boring as the sport to watch sometimes. That's what has been going on for an extended period of time. To me, at this point, it's disrespectful, and that's the kind of behavior that we're not going to tolerate going forward. Brooksy, if that's the worst thing that your sport has to deal with, you've got it made. Football, basketball had the malice at the palace. Football had the Browns fans throwing glass bottles of beer at players on the field. And you have Brooksy. Get out of here. I love playing golf, but I hate golf. This is the dumbest thing. We have spent between this and yesterday's Bishop Sycamores. I don't know who's more full of crap between the two. It's unbelievable. We're out of time, at least on this conversation. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. No golfing tonight. It is pouring down. Reds game tonight canceled, or I shouldn't say canceled, postponed till tomorrow afternoon. A day-night doubleheader. So the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, we are off tomorrow. So there's that. I actually might go to the games. I might just call off work tomorrow and do nothing. It won't be convenient, but I'll try to do what I can. So there you go. I tell you what. I'll give away some tickets. We have some tickets to tomorrow's game. Give me a follow on Twitter at 1410Kinner, at 1410Kinner. And I'll have some instructions on how you can win some Reds tickets to tomorrow's game because I'm going to go. I don't want to sit with you guys. You don't want to sit with me, I'm sure. But there you go. We'll be back in a moment. More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Don't go anywhere.